Karen sent fake HOA cops to evict me. My sheriff brother and Chaos Goats had other plans. Welcome back to HOA Karen Files, the place where we expose the wildest tales of homeowners associations turning into everyday Americans living nightmares. I'm your narrator today, and oh boy, this story isn't just hilarious enough to make you spit out your coffee, it's also scary enough to make you ask yourself, is my land even safe? If you love good OL drama where farmers go head-to-head with the almighty power of paperwork, hit that like button now, leave a comment about the time you had a run-in with an HOA, or just a Karen in general. And don't forget to subscribe to HOA Karen Files and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Today, we dive into a case I call Karen and the HOA cosplay crew, a battle between one stubborn farmer, a herd of unruly goats, and a scheme bigger than you can imagine. Ready? Let's go. It all started on a cold Tuesday morning when Jack Callahan, a farmer with nothing but land, goats, and a cheap, cleanest farm in the county trophy, walked out to inspect the eastern fence. I'm not one to brag, but that trophy is my tiny badge of honor after years of sweat poured into this land. The Callahan farm has lasted 3 generations, ever since my granddad traded a cow for 50 acres from a drunk guy in a bar back in 1920. This isn't just land, it's legacy. It's the mornings I spent on the porch with my dad, listening to him tell stories about fighting off a storm to save the chickens, sipping coffee from a dented tin mug I still keep. I'm not rich. I don't own a shiny car or a mansion, but I've got freedom, or so I thought, until I saw that. Pinned to my old wooden gate was a blazing red piece of paper, nailed in with a 6-inch rusted nail like someone fired a warning shot from a paper-pushing army. I pulled it out, not easy, had to use pliers, and read the notice. Emergency forfeiture notification from something called the HOA of Greater Simmons Valley. They listed a bunch of violations I swear were made up during some cult-like secret meeting. Substandard livestock enclosure, unauthorized fence design, public hazard from animal husbandry area. Fine, $4,700. Vacate by Friday or face immediate removal. Signed, Karen Whitaker, president of the HOA of Greater Simmons Valley. I stood there, paper in hand, head spinning. Simmons Valley is a whole muddy goat field away from my farm. I'm not their neighbor, not a member, no ties whatsoever. And yet here was Karen Whitaker, someone I've never met, deciding her imaginary borders could stretch like the British Empire, except instead of muskets, she's armed with clipboards and an ego bigger than Texas. I stuffed the paper into my coat pocket, thinking it was some kind of scam, the kind you get from a Nigerian prince promising millions if you send a few thousand first. I was about to toss it in the trash near the goat pen when, less than 30 minutes later, I heard an engine growling down the dusty road out front. I looked up to see a shiny black SUV roll into the yard, tires crunching over gravel, kicking up enough dust that I had to shield my eyes. 2 guys got out. One tall and lanky, wearing a cheap tactical vest, holding a clipboard like it was an AK-47 from an army surplus store. The other, shorter, with a buzz cut and a sidearm strapped to his hip, eyes empty in that. I almost passed the police exam, but didn't kind of way. Clipboard guy spoke first, voice flat like he was reading a script. Mr. Callahan, we're here to conduct a visual inspection on behalf of the HOA of Greater Simmons Valley. I blinked, not from dust, but disbelief. HOA of Greater Simmons Valley? I don't live in Simmons Valley. You've got the wrong guy. He replied with a string of legal gibberish that sounded like it was stitched together from Google. Under the emergency annexation subsection, we are permitted to inspect the perimeter without resident consent. I stepped forward, blocking their path. Hold up. You got a warrant? From a judge? Clipboard guy shook his head, but the other guy slid a finger along his holster, didn't draw, just grazed it. Enough to make the hair on my neck stand up. I locked eyes with him. Unless you're actual cops or have a court order, you're trespassing. And believe me, I know the law. My dad had me reading the civil code before I could ride a horse. Clipboard guy gave a smug little smirk, the kind you wear when you're lying but don't care. We'll be reporting your noncompliance. This will escalate. I said, oh, I hope it does. I love paperwork. You want some coffee, or just gonna stand there pretending that vest isn't from a bargain bin? They got in the SUV and pulled away, but not before I snapped photos, license plate, their crooked HOA badge on the windshield, even the guy's ripped shoes. I'm not a drama guy, but this? Too good to stay quiet. I posted to the local forum with the headline. New HOA cosplay squad just dropped. Is Blackwater managing lawns now? Minutes later, the comment section exploded like New Year's fireworks. Tom, my neighbor from the pig farm 2 miles down, wrote, "They showed up at my barn last week demanding to inspect my grain bins for health violations. I told them to get lost without a warrant. They threatened to sue." Lisa, from the end of the road, added, "This isn't compliance. This is intimidation. I saw them placing survey flags near my property yesterday. And then old man Duffy, lives 4 houses down. I swear he's seen everything since the Civil War," declared. "I've been saying it for years. Karen's HOA ain't no neighborhood group. It's a damn cult. They once tried to fine me $200 for growing tomatoes in my backyard. I sat in my beat-up recliner, chuckling so hard I almost spilled coffee on the floor. But then I stopped laughing. If Duffy was right, if this wasn't just some dumb stunt by a nosy busybody, what was really going on? And why me?" I looked out the window. The goats were still grazing peacefully, Maggie chewing on a survey flag like it was a trophy. I thought of Lily, my niece. She's coming over this weekend, and I promised to teach her how to ride Old Bessie. The thought that someone, Karen Whitaker or whoever, could threaten the land I swore would hold her childhood memories made my blood boil. I texted my brother Luke, the county sheriff. "Luke, something weird's going on. Call me when you're free." Then I sat there, red notice in hand, wondering if I just stepped into a nightmare, or a battle I couldn't afford to lose. But one thing was for sure. If Karen wanted to fight, she'd have to go through me, my goats, and my brother. And trust me, that's not the lineup you want to mess with. After the showdown with those guys in discount tactical vests, I thought things would quiet down, like when you knock over a beehive and the buzzing dies down after a while. But nope, this is America, where drama doesn't know when to quit, especially with a Karen running the show. I was sitting in my kitchen, holding a mug of coffee that had gone cold since morning, staring at the bright red paper I'd pulled off my gate. I hadn't thrown it away yet, not because I'm sentimental, but because I wanted to figure out what the hell this HOA Greater Simmons Valley actually was. I live a whole muddy field away from Simmons Valley, a place even UPS won't deliver to unless they're feeling brave. And yet Karen Whitaker, the name signed at the bottom of the notice, thought she could redraw the county map with a rusty nail and a few lines of HOA gibberish. While I was lost in thought, my phone rang, unknown number, local area code. I picked up, barely said, "Hello," when a sharp female voice cut in. "Jack Callahan, this is Karen Whitaker, president of the HOA Greater Simmons Valley. I'm calling to confirm whether you've received the official notice." Her voice wasn't the polite kind you hear from customer service reps. It was smug, the kind that thinks one phone call can bend the world to its will. I replied, "Yeah, I got the paper you nailed to my gate like a Walmart bulletin board. But I don't live in Simmons Valley, Karen, so you're wasting your breath." She scoffed, the kind of scoff that makes you want to punch drywall. "Nailed is a bit dramatic, Jack. We merely attached it to ensure visibility. It's entirely legal under the new emergency expansion guidelines passed by the board last month." I frowned, trying to stay calm. "What board? What guidelines? I don't recall being invited to any meeting, and I'll bet the $4,700 on your notice that I'm not a Simmons Valley resident." Karen responded sweet as synthetic sugar. "Oh, Jack, you didn't need to be invited. We voted to expand the boundaries to include adjacent properties, for the community's benefit, of course. You're officially within our jurisdiction now." I let out a laugh I couldn't suppress. "So you redrew the county map without telling anyone? What are you, Clipboard Columbus?" "Listen, Karen, I'm not playing this game." Her tone hardened like I'd kicked a hornet's nest. "You don't have a choice, Jack. We have the authority to inspect and seize if you don't comply. I suggest you cooperate, unless you want to lose your land, your home, and that smelly herd of goats." I froze for a beat. She just brought up my goats, like she knew how much they meant to me. I clenched my jaw. "You want my goats? Fine, Karen. Come and get him. But be warned, Maggie doesn't like strangers, and she kicks harder than an NFL linebacker." She paused, then said, "You'll regret this attitude. We'll be back, and next time, it won't just be a notice." Then she hung up, leaving me with a dial tone and the feeling that I'd stumbled into the dollar store version of Law and Order. I got up and walked out to the porch, watching the goats lazing in the yard. Maggie, the meanest doe I owned, with scythe-curved horns, was chewing on a chunk of old wood, giving me a look like she knew something was off. I muttered, "Maggie, if Karen wants war, you're my secret weapon." But it wasn't just the goats I was worried about. Karen had mentioned losing my land, my home, the things my family had sweated over for 3 generations. I remembered my dad telling me, Jack, land ain't just dirt. It's your roots. If someone tries to steal it, you make them pay. I whispered, all right, Dad. I will. That night, I decided to walk the perimeter, just to be sure. Under the pale moonlight, I spotted several tiny orange survey flags along the north field, near the fence bordering the dry creek. They hadn't been there yesterday. I knew because I'd fixed that fence last week. I pulled one out. Cheap plastic, coordinates written in black Sharpie, clearly a surveyor's marker. Daisy, the smallest goat, trotted over and snatched one up like it was bubblegum. I chuckled. Good girl, Daisy. Keep tearing him up. But I wasn't laughing inside. Karen wasn't bluffing, she had a plan. And these flags were step one in claiming my land. The next morning, I called Luke. My brother Luke Callahan is the county sheriff, not the action hero type with bulging muscles, but a lanky guy who wears the same old baseball cap every day and prefers solving problems with the least amount of fuss. He picked up after 2 rings. Jack? What's going on this early? Your goats terrorized the neighborhood again. I told him everything, the red notice, the tactical vest weirdos, Karen's call, and the survey flags. Luke went quiet for a beat, then said, You're not the first to call me about this. Last week, Mrs. Helen on 12th Street said some strangers were scoping out her yard, claiming to be from an HOA. I thought it was just a scam. But if they threatened you? He trailed off, voice dropping low. This isn't about fines or fences, Jack. It's bigger. I can't say more over the phone, hold tight, and don't let them set foot on your land. I hung up, a chill running down my spine. Luke doesn't exaggerate, so if he said it was big, I believed him. But I didn't have time to dwell. A few days later, at exactly 6:42 a.m., I was jolted awake by a loudspeaker blaring from outside. This is the Simmons Valley HOA Compliance Division. Jack Callahan, step outside immediately. I stumbled onto the porch in a faded T-shirt that read, Don't tread on me, the kind I bought at the county fair last year, still clutching a mug of coffee. Out front, 4 black SUVs were lined up like a low-budget action movie shoot, yellow lights flashing obnoxiously. Karen Whitaker emerged from the lead vehicle, oversized sunglasses and clipboard in hand like she was auditioning for a villain role on Lifetime. She was flanked by 6 guys in khakis and steel-toe boots. One had a drone controller. Another carried a binder thicker than my tractor manual. Karen shouted, her voice echoing through the valley, Jack Callahan, we are here to execute Phase 2 of compliance enforcement. You were notified and chose not to cooperate. We now have the authority to inspect and seize any violations. I took a sip of coffee and replied, Phase 2? Did Phase 1 get lost in the mail, Karen? And I still don't live in Simmons Valley, so you're wasting a perfectly good morning. She stepped forward, heels crunching the gravel. You are within our newly approved jurisdiction, sanctioned by the board. We have full authority under the Emergency Expansion Clause, Section C, Article 17. Cooperate, or you'll wish you were never born. I set down my coffee and stepped into the yard. What board? What clause? Did you just make this up? Listen, Karen, I don't care where you bought that clipboard. It doesn't give you the right to step on my land. She motioned to her goons. Proceed to inspect the livestock enclosure. I didn't wait. I let out a long, sharp whistle. My goats, Maggie, Billy, Daisy, and old Rusty, charged from the barn like a 4-legged riot squad. Maggie led the charge, horns low, and rammed into the guy with the radio, tearing his pant leg. He screamed, What the hell is that? Billy leapt onto the nearest SUV, leaving muddy hoof prints across the windshield. Daisy headbutted another guy in the shin, sending him tumbling into the mud, clipboard flying. Rusty, though half retired, contributed by gnawing on the drone operator's shoulder strap until he panicked. Get it off me. Get it off. Karen stood frozen, face crimson. Stop. This is all being recorded as evidence of non-compliance. She raised her phone to film, but I just grinned. Zoom in, Karen. This one's going viral. Suggested title, Karen versus Goats. Who wins? The chaos was glorious screams, goat bleats, car horns, a true symphony of defiance. I stood arms crossed, watching her so-called compliance unit fall apart like a high school team facing the NFL. But the fun ended when a real police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing red and blue. Deputy Ramirez stepped out, hands in his pockets like he'd just left a donut shop. Everything all right, Jack? I shook my head. Not exactly. These folks claimed to be HOA, demanding to inspect my land. Karen snapped, We are executing lawful authority of the Simmons Valley HOA. You may not interfere. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. Lawful authority? Did Mr. Callahan invite you here? No, I said. Did you consent to their inspection? Absolutely not. Ramirez turned back to Karen. Then you're trespassing. Withdraw immediately. And that drone? Flying over farmland without a permit is a state violation. You've got 30 seconds. Karen stood there, twitching like she was about to explode, but she knew she'd lost. She signaled her goons, and they trudged back to their SUVs, leaving behind a battlefield of mud and discarded clipboards. Before she left, she stepped close and hissed, "Hope your niece likes living off-grid, Jack. Because I'll make sure you lose everything." A chill ran down my spine. She knew about Lily. That wasn't random. I locked eyes with her and whispered, "Big mistake, Karen. Don't mess with my family." She turned away, but I saw her hand shaking not from fear, but fury. As their cars disappeared, Ramirez clapped me on the shoulder. "Careful, Jack. These people aren't playing around." I nodded, watching my goats prance around the yard like they just won the Super Bowl. After Karen and her HOA cosplay squad got wrecked by my goats, I thought I'd earned a breather, like when you just beat a video game boss, only for the screen to flash. Round 2. Fight. I was wrong. This is America, where drama doesn't end, it reloads. I stood on my porch, fresh coffee in hand, watching Maggie proudly chew on a survey flag like it was a victory medal. Ramirez had warned me to stay alert, and Luke's words, "Something bigger's going on," kept looping in my head like a sad country song you can't turn off. I knew Karen wasn't done. I just didn't expect her to go dirty this fast. Things started feeling off the next day. I was doing my usual goat chores, because farming doesn't stop just because the HOA says boo, and I noticed a few weird things. The goat's water bucket was flipped over, laying 10 feet from the pen like someone had booted it. The western fence, brand new barbed wire I installed last week, was loose in one spot. Not goat damage. More like someone cut it. That night, the power flickered, not storm flicker, but full shutoff twice, each time when I tried uploading security cam footage to the cloud. I don't believe in ghosts, but it felt like someone or something was messing with my land. I started looking sideways at everyone, not because I'm paranoid, but because I'm not stupid. I had 2 ranch hands. Ellie, a 22-year-old part-timer who always wore her ball cap backwards and sang Taylor Swift to the goats, and Darren, a lanky guy, quiet, hired 3 months ago through a buddy in town. Ellie was easygoing. Darren had been acting off. Last week he asked, "Hey Jack, where's your backup generator?" "Got a second one," I said, "in the shed." "Why?" He shrugged. "Just wondering, in case the power goes out." At the time, I didn't think much of it. But now, with the bucket, the fence, the power blips, I started watching him. To be sure, I pulled Ellie aside while she was filling water near the pin, humming "Shake It Off." I asked, "Ellie, seen anyone weird around the ranch lately? Someone who's not me or you?" She stopped singing, wide-eyed. "No, but Darren asked me yesterday if you keep your land deed in the house." I told him I didn't know. "That's your business." I nodded, playing it cool. "All right, keep doing what you're doing." But in my head, it clicked. Darren wasn't just curious. He was fishing. And I'd bet Maggie's flag had his fingerprints. I decided to test him, like one of those country boy detective setups. I took an old box from the barn, labeled it Callahan Land Records, confidential, and stuffed it with blank paper and an old grocery list. Then I stashed it in the side shed near the pen, locked it with a cheap padlock that could be popped with a spoon. Then I waited. 2 days later, I checked. Box gone. Lock twisted like someone used pliers. I smiled. "Gotcha, Darren." But I didn't confront him, not yet. I wanted proof. On the 3rd night, I was inside watching the feed from my budget Home Depot security cams. At 11:17 p.m., the alarm pinged on the camera by the well. I pulled up the live feed. Darren, hoodie up, flashlight in hand, a canvas bag slung over his shoulder, was sneaking across the south field like a low-budget James Bond. I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight, what Dad used to call a bear beater, and bolted outside, slipping an old wrench in my pocket just in case. I followed him through the field, dry grass crunching underfoot, moonlight just enough to track him. He was fast, but this was my land. I'd been running these acres since I was in diapers. I cut through the oaks and saw him crouching by the old pump house. I shouted, "Darren, you forget your shift schedule." He jumped, dropped the flashlight, and bolted. But I was faster. I tackled him into the mud, pinned him down. "Don't run, rat boy. What are you doing on my land?" He panted hard, but he didn't beg. He snapped, "Get off me, Jack. Who do you think you are? Sitting on stolen land? Acting like a hero? Karen told me everything. Your family cheated the system. This land should have been for the community. I froze but kept my grip. Karen said that? Clipboard Karen told you my dad was a land thief? You believe that trash? He sneered, face caked in mud. She has documents, Jack. Old contracts, signatures, everything. She said you won't listen, that you're a threat to the plan. I'm just doing my job. I searched his bag. Not easy, since he squirmed like a hooked catfish. Inside was a burner phone, a tablet, and a folded map of my ranch with red notes. Camera blind spot. West pin, generator, cold storage, evac plan, for 11. I checked the date. 2 days away. I booted the tablet. It showed images, angles of the goat pins I never had cameras on, my electricity usage charts, and a PDF titled Project Callahan, Phase 3. I opened it. A list of 20 other farms across 3 counties, a plan to build luxury suburbs with golf courses, mansions, and a shopping complex, all under Mason Ridge Holdings. At the bottom, an email from Mr. Whitaker is doing well. Push Callahan, this land is key. I looked Darren dead in the eye. Karen's not the boss, is she? Who's Mr.? He shrugged, eyes darting. I don't know. Karen said there's someone higher, maybe in Washington. They paid her $50,000 to get her hands dirty, but the plan's not hers. Did you see the email? They want the whole region, not just your farm. I stood up, yanked him to sit. You cut the fence? Killed the power. He nodded. Karen said it'd rattle you. Make you quit faster. I smirked. She doesn't know who I am. Neither do you. I locked Darren in the tool shed, chained the door, just long enough to hold him until Luke arrived. I called my brother, fast. Luke, get over here. Caught the mole, Darren, the ranch hand. He's working for Karen, and she's not working alone. Luke arrived 20 minutes later. No badge, just his old denim jacket and baseball cap. He stepped into the shed, saw Darren curled up in the corner, and turned to me. You were right. This ain't just Karen anymore. I handed him the map, tablet, email. Luke flipped through them, face darkening. Jack, this is a forged land deed. Your signature faked, filed with the county last week. List Mason Ridge Holdings as co-owner, a shell company I've never heard of. I pulled out the real deed from Dad's old safe, heavy as sin, ink signed in 1990. Placed it next to the fake. They looked identical, except the real one had wet ink. Luke nodded. Karen tried to sell your land to a developer. At least one person in the planning office signed off, maybe Zach Larson. I've seen him lunching with shady suits downtown. But this, he pointed at the Mr. email. This isn't local. Someone in D.C. is pulling strings. I've heard whispers about big projects in the Midwest, farmland turning into cities. Didn't know it was this close. I sat down, hands shaking. Look, why me? Why this land? He said, not about money. It's position. Your land's between 3 counties, near an unopened highway. If they get it, they open the floodgates, hundreds of acres fall like dominoes. Karen's a pawn. A dirty one. I asked, what now? Luke clapped my shoulder. I'll take Darren in, get his statement. You hold on to this stuff, photograph it, send me copies, lock the originals. If they come back on April 11th, call me. I can't intervene without a warrant, but I'll be ready. I looked out into the night. I wasn't afraid of Karen anymore. I was afraid of what she stood for, an invisible force, with money and power, redrawing the American map from sleek D.C. offices. And I was just a dot in their blueprint. But if they want this land, they'll have to go through me and my goats. After catching Darren and hearing Luke reveal the bigger scheme out of Washington, I couldn't sleep right anymore. Not out of fear. I've lived through chicken coop flattening storms and come out fine, but because I realized this wasn't just about me. Karen and those Mason Ridge Holdings bastards weren't just after Callahan Farm. They were targeting the entire Midwest, one plot at a time. I sat in the kitchen, third cold coffee of the day in hand, staring at Darren's documents. 20 farms, maps with GPS coordinates, and that email from Mr. haunting like a silent threat. I thought of Lily, my niece, and the promise to teach her to ride this weekend. If I lost, she'd have no land to roam, no memories to carry except for a dented, cleanest farm in the county trophy. I had to dig deeper, not just to protect my land, but to know who the hell we were really up against. I called some folks I knew, people who'd told me about shady HOA stuff before. First up, Grace Harlow, a 58-year-old widow 2 counties over. I met her at last year's AG Fair when she won Prettiest Dairy Cow. I drove to her farm, a cozy little spread with a white-painted barn and old wooden fencing. Grace met me with a cane in one hand and fire in her eyes. She poured us tea from a chipped kettle and told her story. Jack, I got a letter from the HOA last month. Said it was Phase 1, Redevelopment Initiative. They claimed my barn was out of code. Fined me $6,000 and said they'd seize it if I didn't pay. I told them no. My husband left me this land before he died in the war. It's all I got. What did you do? I asked. She smirked, pointed out the window. I stood at the gate with my hunting rifle. When their flunkies showed up, same khaki-wearing clipboard goons you saw, I raised that gun and said, "Step over," and I shoot. They ran like their butts were on fire. She pulled out an envelope from a drawer, same red letter format I'd received. Same Karen Whitaker signature. Same Mason Ridge Holdings fine print. I sued them, Grace said. Got a county lawyer. 3 weeks later, they disappeared. But they'll be back. Not for me, for someone else. She handed me a photo of her farm at sunrise. On the back, still standing, Jack. Don't let them win. Next was Jim Baxter, a retired mechanic I knew from an old-timers group in Ohio. 1 day's drive away. I called him. His voice crackled on the line. Jack, I lost the land. 20 acres of corn. Raised 3 kids there. Now it's a private resort with a golf course and an infinity pool. The HOA fined me $10,000 for an unsafe shed, the same one I built in '85. I couldn't afford a lawyer. Signed it away to avoid bankruptcy. He paused. I heard him choke up. My daughter, Amy, cried in the kitchen when I signed. Said, "Daddy, where's my horse barn?" Now I'm a security guard at the damn place. Watch rich folks tee off where I used to plant. They won, Jack. Because I couldn't afford to fight. Finally, Sarah Nguyen, a single mom from Kansas I met in a Facebook group for farmers. We met at a diner near her old farm, now a shopping center parking lot. She was 34, ponytail, tired eyes that still held a spark. I inherited 10 acres from my grandma, she said. Not much, but enough for my 2 boys. I fixed their bikes in the shed, sang them lullabies at night. Then the HOA came. Fined me $8,000 for an unauthorized outbuilding. I fought in court, asked their lawyer, "Do you have kids? Do you know what it's like to lose the land your childhood stands on?" They laughed. That kind of laugh that knows it's going to win. She lost. Sold the land cheap to pay court fees. Now I rent. My kids play in a cramped apartment courtyard. I didn't lose because I was wrong, Jack. I lost because I couldn't afford to be right. I came home and sat at the kitchen table, knuckles wide around my coffee mug. Grace, Jim, Sarah, not just victims. They were previews of what Karen and Mason Ridge wanted to do to me and to everyone around here. I looked out at the goat pen. Maggie was munching on grass. I thought, no way in hell I let them win, Karen. November 4th, the date on Darren's plan, was coming fast. I called Luke. Brother, we need to be ready. Karen's coming back, and this time she's not bluffing. I know, Luke said. I've been digging into Mason Ridge. Nothing concrete, but rumors say they've got ties to some folks in D.C. You get your place ready. I'll be there when it happens. Luke and I drew up a plan, like something out of a war movie. I installed 3 more security cameras, cheap Walmart models, but good enough for 4K. Floodlights wired to a switch by the front door. Trained the goats using a whistle, 2 sharp blows, and Maggie would lead the charge. I stood in the pen one evening and said, "You're my sergeant now, girl." She looked up mid-chew like she understood. Luke prepped at the station, keeping Darren under wraps and the backup team ready. Then came November 4th. Right on time, 7 a.m., Karen rolled up, not 4, but 5 black SUVs, lights flashing like the low-budget SWAT they thought they were. Karen climbed out in a beige blazer, sunglasses, clipboard in hand like a corporate commando. 8 goons followed, khakis and earpieces, some with zip ties and massive flashlights. They'd upgraded, from cosplay rank B to C+. Karen shouted through a bullhorn. Jack Callahan, by emergency order of the Greater Simmons Valley HOA. This property is now under administrative control. Exit the premises, or we will enter by force. I stepped onto the porch in my old America shirt, coffee in hand, like a holy relic. Karen, you got a court order? No. Then this is still my land. And that clipboard doesn't mean squat. She smirked. We don't need a court order. Emergency protocols allow immediate action for community benefit. Enforcement team, breach the barn. I didn't wait. Hit the switch, Floodlights flared like alien abduction beams. One guy screamed, "What the hell is that?" Then I whistled. Twice. Goats charged like a fury-fueled stampede. Maggie led the way, slammed into a guy, and sent him flying. Zip ties went airborne. Billy jumped onto a hood, cracked the windshield. Daisy gnawed a headset cord and dragged a man like a rodeo clown. Rusty, bless his old soul, munched on the bullhorn bag while the operator shrieked. Karen shrieked from the chaos. "Useless. You're all useless." But it wasn't over. From the east field, Don Wallace, my neighbor and lawyer, roared in with his beat-up pickup, screeching to a halt. He jumped out, white hair wild, thick glasses fogged, holding a stack of papers. "Karen Whitaker," he bellowed. "You just crossed onto my land. This is a temporary injunction and class action lawsuit, signed by 15 residents." He tossed the papers at her feet. They hit her shoe. She flinched. "You have no authority." Karen snapped. "I'm a lawyer, Missy. I have all the authority when you trespass on my turf." Then came Mrs. Delaney, 70, floral nightgown, barreling down the road in a golf cart, wielding a broom. "Hit her, Jack. Let me see some action," she hollered, swinging the broom in the air. Karen was spinning, caught in a storm of goats, lawsuits, and senior citizen rage. "You'll regret this," she screamed. That's when the real cops showed up. Luke stepped out, in uniform this time, holding an arrest warrant. "Karen Whitaker, you're under arrest for fraud, impersonating law enforcement, and multiple civil violations. Hands out." His deputies cuffed her. She didn't scream, just stared at me with venom. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "They'll send someone stronger. 10 times stronger." Her squad scattered. One guy cried, "Can I be a witness? I don't want jail." Luke nodded. "Start talking." I stood in the yard, watching them haul her off. Victory didn't taste as sweet as I'd imagined. In her SUV, I found a tablet flashing. Midwest Pilot Zone, Plan B, activated. New coordinates listed. Not my land, but the next targets. I shivered. This war wasn't over. And Karen was just a pawn in a much bigger game. After Karen was cuffed and loaded into the back of the cruiser, I stood in the middle of my yard, cold coffee in hand, watching her fleet of black SUVs roll off in a cloud of dust. My goats, Maggie, Billy, Daisy, and Rusty, were casually grazing near the barn, acting like they hadn't just turned 8 khaki-clad tough guys into a county-wide spectacle. Don Wallace, my wild-haired lawyer neighbor, clapped me on the back. "Jack, you did good. That class action lawsuit's gonna break that damn HOA, at least for a while." From her golf cart, broom still in hand, Mrs. Delaney hollered, "That's right, Jack. Show him what a Callahan's made of." I smiled, for the first time that day. But it didn't last. I glanced over at Luke, my brother, taking the statement from one of Karen's goons turned witness, and I knew the fight wasn't over. When Luke came back, he handed me the tablet I found in Karen's SUV. The screen was still flashing, Midwest Pilot Zone, Plan B, activated, along with a new list of coordinates, not my land, but scattered targets across the Midwest. "Luke, what does this mean? Karen's done, right?" He shook his head, tone low like when Dad used to break bad news. "She's done. The game isn't. Mason Ridge Holdings, whoever they really are, they're not stopping just because a pawn got caught. These are their next targets, Jack. Might be Grace's land. Maybe what used to be Jim's. Or some family that has no idea they're about to lose everything. So what did I even win?" I asked. "If they're just gonna send someone else?" Luke put a hand on my shoulder. "You won today. That matters. But this is bigger than you. I'll keep digging, starting with Zach Larson at the county office. You? Hold this land. Because they won't stop easy." Back home, I sat in the living room, the tablet resting on the table, dim light from the ceiling bulb casting shadows over the real deeds from Dad's old safe. Wedding signatures from 1990, when he bought an extra 20 acres from a bankrupt neighbor. I ran my fingers over his name, remembering when I was a kid, sitting on his lap on the porch as he told me how Grandpa traded a cow for this land. "Jack," he once said, "land is the only thing they can't remake. Lose money, make more. Lose land. It's gone for good." I looked out at the dark fields and whispered, "Dad, if I held it today, can I hold it tomorrow?" A few days later, while fixing the western fence, yeah, the one Darren sabotaged, a rare USPS truck rolled up. Mike, the male guy I went to high school with, hopped out and handed me a sleek black envelope. No return address. My name handwritten in white ink. Jack Callahan. Don't know who sent this, Mike said. No stamp. No postmark. Found it in the back bin at the office. Weird stuff. I nodded, thanked him, and opened it with shaking hands. Inside, a folded map of the Midwest, 3 red-circled coordinates far north of here. Below, typed in a sterile font, Beta is ready. Alpha's failure is not the end. There was also a logo, a triangle with a house inside it. I didn't recognize it. I brought it inside, set it next to Dad's deeds. I didn't know who Alpha was. Karen, maybe, but Beta was clearly the next move. And I wasn't the target this time. I thought of Grace, Jim, Sarah, folks who'd already lost, or almost did. I thought of Lily, my niece growing up in the city, where playgrounds are concrete and memories aren't made with fields and fences. And I thought of hundreds more like them, asleep in their homes, unaware someone in a shiny DC office might be redrawing their lives with a $500 pen and a whiskey buzz. I went up to the attic and got Dad's old lockbox, the one that held land deeds, faded family photos, and a dusty pistol he never fired. I slid the black envelope in, locked it, and stashed it beneath the living room floorboards I'd hollowed out during renovations last year. I didn't know who sent it or why, but if someone ever needed it, Luke, Don, whoever's ready to fight, they'd find it. Like a round in the chamber, waiting. I stepped out onto the porch. The moonlit yard lay quiet. Maggie looked up from her chewing, like she knew I was thinking too much. I whispered, "Don't worry, Maggie. I'm not quitting." Since that day, I changed my routine. Up at 5:30 a.m. brew coffee. Check fences. Not just to repair, but to remind myself, this land is mine. And I'll keep it, whatever it takes. I'm not naive anymore. I used to think the law was a steel wall guarding folks like me, like Grace or Sarah. But now I know, it's paper. And paper burns easy. Karen Whitaker wasn't the real enemy. She was just the one holding the match. The real enemy? People like MR, sitting in some marble-paneled room in D.C., sipping overpriced scotch while mapping out how to erase farms like mine to build golf resorts or shopping centers nobody here asked for. But what they don't understand, what Karen learned the hard way, is that people like me don't back down easy. I don't have money, power, or a fancy legal team. But I've got this land. I've got goats. I've got Luke. I've got Dawn. I've got Mrs. Delaney and her cursed broom. And most of all, I've got the grit my dad left me. If someone tries to take your land, make them pay for it. I looked across the field and imagined Lily riding old Bessie, laughing like I used to. And I swore, if Plan B or any other scheme comes knocking, they'll have to go through me and my goats. And trust me, Maggie kicks harder than any lawyer or HOA henchman money can buy. Living in America, they tell you land, liberty, and justice are your rights. But rights aren't free. They're not handed down on silver trays by men in suits. They're held in your hands, earned with sweat, and sometimes defended by goats willing to throw down. The law is paper, fragile and bendable for those with money. But the people, folks like Jack, Grace, Jim, Sarah, were steel, forged in hard times, seasoned by fights no one televised. Karen didn't lose because she was weak. She lost because she never understood that land isn't just dirt. It's roots. It's memory. It's the thing you fight for until your last damn breath. And if someone, somewhere, is drawing up a new map to steal it from you, do what I did. Stand up, call your people, unleash the goats, and make them regret picking the wrong farmer to mess with. So that's the end of my story, at least the part 1 no. Karen's gone, but that black envelope and Plan B are still out there, ticking. If you enjoyed this crazy ride, from red notices to rampaging goats to a plot twist courtroom finale, hit that like button and support me and HOA Karen Files. Drop a comment. Who do you think MR really is? Ever met a Karen in your life? And most importantly, smash that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss the next chapter. Who knows? Plan B might just lead us into another fight. And I want you right there with me when it happens. Thanks for watching, folks. Keep your land. Keep your spirit. And I'll see you in the next video. Fake HOA cops unleash Plan B on my farm. Goats and neighbors said, not today. Hey everyone, welcome back to HOA Karen Files. If you think the battle with Karen and her gang of fake HOA cops was the peak of drama, well, let me tell you, we're just getting started. I'm Jack Callahan, your storyteller, and today we dive into the next chapter, A story I call Plan B. When the enemy comes back with a bigger wallet and a worse attitude. You helped me take Karen down last time, so keep the support going by hitting that like button right now. It's like a Maggie-style head, but for the bad guys. Leave a comment and tell me how crazy you think this Plan B is going to get. And don't forget to hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss a second of this battle. We've got Sheriff Luke, the Chaos Goats, and a brand new black envelope waiting to be revealed. Ready? Let's roll. A month had passed since I sent Karen Whitaker off in a police car, hands cuffed, face red like an overripe tomato. I thought I'd won, like knocking out the final boss in a video game and watching a lovely ending with birds singing in golden sunshine. But this is America, where drama never dies, it just takes a break to level up. I went back to my normal life on Callahan Ranch, the land my family has held for 3 generations, ever since my granddad traded a cow for 50 acres of weed-filled pasture in 1920. Each morning, I'd brew coffee in my dad's dented tin mug, step out onto the porch, and watch the goats laze around the barn like a retired army squad. Maggie, the goat leader with horns curved like scythes, now spent her days chewing grass and occasionally headbutting the water bucket for fun. I swear she missed the days of fighting Karen's minions. Last weekend, my niece Lily came over, a little 8-year-old with messy brown hair and a smile brighter than sunrise over a field. I had promised to teach her how to ride Bessie, the old mare I've raised since she was a foal. Standing by the stable, I watched Lily giggle as Bessie snorted at her hand, and I thought, this is why I fought Karen. So the kid could run free, not be robbed by clipboard-waving men. Even though I'd won the last round, I hadn't given up my habit of checking the fences each morning, not because I feared goats escaping, but because that chill down my spine from the Karen incident still haunted me. I knew somewhere out there, or Plan B from the tablet was brewing, and I didn't plan on being caught off guard again. Tuesday morning, I was tightening barbed wire at the east fence, the one Darren, that backstabbing mole, had once cut, when Lily ran out of the house, holding a small backpack with a superhero on it. She shouted, "Uncle Jack, my teacher gave this to you yesterday, but I forgot to give it." I laughed, wiped the sweat from my brow. "What did your teacher send that had to go through superhero, Lily, huh?" She shrugged and handed me a black envelope, no stamp, no postmark, just my name in white ink, Jack Callahan. My heart pounded. This looked exactly like the envelope I got after the Karen incident, the one I locked under my living room floorboards with a message about Plan B. I patted Lily's head. "Thanks, now go play with Maggie. I need to check this." She ran off, leaving me standing there, hands shaking like the first time I held a hunting rifle. I tore the envelope open, trying to stay calm even as my mind raced through a dozen scenarios from IRS fines to a mafia death threat. Inside was a color satellite image, clear enough that I recognized the goat pen and old oak grove on the south end of my ranch. A red X circled my house, with the note, Alpha Point, failed. Below it were new coordinates, 39.1234, minus 84.5678 to 50 miles from here, along with a typed line. Beta begins 5 out of 12. Prepare or disappear. I frowned, flipped the photo, and saw a small note taped to the back. "Callahan, this is your last warning. Don't let the girl pay the price." The girl. They knew about Lily, and the way they sent the letter through her school wasn't a coincidence. This was a threat, not a joke. I grabbed my phone and called Luke, my brother, the county sheriff, the only person I trusted to handle something this crazy. He picked up after a few rings. "Jack, why are you calling this early? Goats eat your mail again." I couldn't laugh. "Luke, I just got another black envelope. This time sent through Lily from her school. They know about her, and there's a new set of coordinates not on my land, but I bet it's someone we know." Luke went quiet for a second, then his voice dropped. "Give me the coordinates." I read them out. 39.1234, minus 84.5678. He typed something, then hissed. "Damn it, Jack. That's Grace Harlow's farm. She called me this morning, said some strangers showed up for a safety inspection, claiming to be from the Midwest Safety Task Force, MSDF. I was about to head over. I felt a chill. Grace Harlow, the 58-year-old who once told me about her fight with Karen's HOA, the one who stood guard with a shotgun to protect her land and her late husband's memory. I said, "Look, I'm coming with you. If this is the Plan B Karen talked about, I'm not letting Grace face it alone." Luke replied, "All right, but don't do anything stupid before I get there. I'll pick you up in 30 minutes. I hung up, looking at Lily playing with Daisy by the pen. I didn't say anything to her, not yet. But in my head, I swore. If they dare touch my niece, I'll make them regret ever being born. Luke showed up on time, driving his beat-up patrol car with the scratch from when he crashed into a tree chasing a drunk last year. I hopped in with a giant wrench, not for fighting, just to feel like I had something in my hands. On the way to Grace's farm, an hour's drive from my place, Luke said. Grace said those MSDF guys weren't like Karen's crew. No clipboards, no cheap suits. They wore gray, had sunglasses, tablets, and told her to leave for federal safety violations. She kicked them out, but they threatened to return with equipment. I asked, Federal? Who are they to claim that? Luke shrugged. I don't know, but I bet the MSDF is connected to Mason Ridge Holdings, the same people behind Karen. I'm investigating, but this thing is bigger than our county, Jack. We arrived at Grace's farm at noon. She stood at the gate, holding an old shotgun, silver hair blowing in the wind, eyes blazing just like the first time I met her at the county fair. On the other side, 3 men in gray suits stood beside a white SUV, no sirens, but a tiny MSDF logo on the door, a house inside a triangle, just like the one on my first black envelope. One guy, tall and skinny with silver-rimmed sunglasses, was speaking into a walkie. Mrs. Harlow, under new federal safety regulations, this property is no longer fit for residents. You have 48 hours to vacate, or we begin demolition, Grace shouted. I've lived here 30 years, since my husband died in Iraq. You have no right to evict me, he replied, monotone. We have full authority under the Midwest Redevelopment Act, passed last month. I stepped out of the car, stood next to Grace, and stared at him through the gate. Hey, who the hell are you to call yourselves federal? I've dealt with your type, Karen Whitaker's HOA, and we sent them home packing. Don't try us again. The guy turned to me, smirked. Jack Callahan, right? We know you. Alpha failed because of you, but Beta is different. This isn't your local game anymore. Luke stepped in, flashing his badge. If you're federal, show me a warrant. If not, you're trespassing. The tall guy backed off and signaled the others. We'll return with paperwork. 48 hours, Mrs. Harlow. They drove away, no sirens, no dust, but left behind a heavy silence like a rock on your chest. Grace turned to me, hand shaking on her shotgun. Jack, they're back because I didn't let them win last time. But this time, they're stronger. I patted her shoulder. You're not fighting alone, Grace. I'm here, Luke's here, and I'll bring the goats if I have to. She gave a faint smile. Your goats really do head it hard, Luke added. Jack, I checked the law they mentioned. It doesn't exist, at least not federally. But if Mason Ridge has money, they could have bought something somewhere. I need time. I nodded. Then we have 48 hours to get ready. If Plan B wants to play, I'll give them a game. After receiving the second black envelope and finding out Grace Harlow was in trouble with something called the Midwest Safety Task Force, MSDF, I couldn't sit still. I had beaten Karen Whitaker with a herd of goats and my sheriff brother, but this time felt different, like defeating the level 1 boss only to discover there's a bigger one waiting behind a secret door. I loaded the goats into the truck, Maggie, Billy, Daisy, and Rusty, like an untrained suicide squad that only needed grass and a target to headbutt. Grace lived an hour's drive from me, and I wasn't about to let her fight alone, not after she told me how she once held a shotgun to protect her land and the memory of her late husband. I drove down dusty red roads, Dad's old country tunes on the radio, thinking, if this is Plan B, I'm gonna make them wish they'd never written that damn envelope. I arrived at Grace's farm just after noon, sunlight shining on her white-painted barn and the old wooden fence she fixed up every year. I parked near the gate and let the goats down to graze in the yard. Maggie looked up at me like she knew there was work to do. Grace stood on the porch, holding her old shotgun, silver hair tied back, as sharp like the time she ran off Karen's thugs. But this time, the opponent wasn't some cosplay HOA crew in cheap suits. Beyond the fence, I saw 3 men in gray suits, no clipboards, no flashing lights, just high-tech tablets and silver-rimmed sunglasses. They looked like they stepped out of a B-grade spy movie. A white SUV was parked behind them, with a tiny MSDF logo on the door, a house inside a triangle, same symbol from the black envelope. The tall, lanky guy leading them, I call him Sunglasses Guy because of the oversized shades covering half his face, was speaking through a radio. Mrs. Harlow, we warned you this morning. Under the Midwest Redevelopment Act, this land no longer meets federal safety standards. You have 24 hours to vacate, or we will proceed with demolition. Grace shouted back, her voice shaky but not weak. I've lived here since 1992, when my husband died in Iraq, so you people could feel safe in your offices. Don't talk to me about standards. You don't have the right. Sunglasses guy replied, voice flat as a robot. We have full authority, Mrs. Harlow. This is not a request, it's an order. I stepped forward, stood next to Grace, hands in my pockets to keep calm. Hey, sunglasses guy. I'm Jack Callahan. I've dealt with your kind, claiming to be Karen Whitaker's HOA, and we kicked their asses all the way back to their mamas. Are you the upgraded version, or just the same guys in different suits? He turned to me, smirking. Callahan, you're the reason Alpha failed. But Beta isn't your game. We're authorized from higher levels than you can imagine. I scoffed. Higher levels? You mean the suits in Washington sipping $20 coffee while I sweat to keep this land alive? Show me a warrant, or get lost. He shook his head. The warrant will arrive tomorrow morning. 24 hours, Callahan. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Grace raised her shotgun, not aiming, just a warning. You're not stepping past this gate. Sunglasses guy motioned to the others, and they began setting up surveying equipment, some kind of red laser scanning machines that looked like props stolen from a sci-fi movie. I didn't wait. I whistled twice, the same goat call I used back in the Karen days. Maggie charged out first, her horns like scythes, headbutting the nearest scanner and sending it crashing into the mud with a loud crack. Billy jumped onto the white SUV's hood and stomped so hard the windshield cracked. Daisy bit through the cable of the second scanner, dragging it around like a leashed puppy. Rusty, though old, joined the fun by chewing Sunglasses Guy's supply bag, scattering papers across the yard. Grace laughed out loud. Your goats are still stars, Jack? Sunglasses Guy yelled. Call them off now. This is federal property. I shot back. Federal property? These are my goats, and they don't like gray-suited creeps standing on my friend's land. The MSDF crew backed off, but unlike Karen's goons, they didn't run. They stood their ground, red-faced, watching thousands of dollars worth of gear get goat-stomped. I thought I'd won this round, until a shiny black SUV rolled in from the west road, dust swirling in its wake. The door opened, and a woman stepped out tall, thin, with fiery red cropped hair, wearing a sleek black suit and Matrix-style sunglasses. No clipboard, no tablet. She just stood there, arms crossed, looking at us like ants under a magnifying glass. She spoke, her voice ice-cold. I'm Veronica Miles, Regional Director of the Midwest Safety Task Force. Callahan, I've heard about your little goat stunts. But this isn't Karen Whitaker's game. You won Alpha, but Beta belongs to me. And I don't lose. I stepped up to the fence, locking eyes with her. Veronica, huh? You're tougher than Karen, sure, but this land's not yours. Show me legitimate paperwork, or leave like the others. She smiled, not Karen's smug grin, but the kind of smile someone makes when they know they're holding the ace. The documents will arrive tomorrow morning, Callahan. But I advise you and Mrs. Harlow to pack up. We're not just taking this land, we're taking this entire region. This comes from the highest level. Just then, Luke pulled in, patrol car sliding next to mine. He got out, badge gleaming. Highest level? I'm Sheriff Luke Callahan. If this is federal, I need to see a judge's warrant, not just fancy talk from a well-dressed stranger. Veronica turned to Luke, unfazed. Sheriff, you'll see the warrant tomorrow. This is the Midwest Redevelopment Act, approved by people beyond your reach. MSDF has emergency powers. Challenge us if you want. Luke pulled out a notepad and wrote. I'll be checking that act. But if you don't have a warrant right now, you're trespassing. Withdraw, or I'll arrest you for civil threat. Veronica signaled Sunglasses Guy and his team. Pull back. We return with equipment tomorrow morning. She gave me one last look. Callahan, you have 24 hours to decide, cooperate, or lose everything. And this time, your goats won't save you. She climbed back into the black SUV, and it sped away, leaving us standing there among broken gear and papers from Sunglasses Guy's bag. Grace lowered her shotgun, panting. Jack, she's not bluffing. They're stronger than Karen ever was. I nodded. Yeah, but I'm not bluffing either. If they want your land, they'll have to go through me and Maggie. Luke picked up one of the scattered pages, a printed email from V. Miles to Mr. Callahan remains a problem. Accelerate Beta. Harlow is the first step. Luke frowned. Mr. Same initials as in Karen's email. Mason Ridge Holdings is behind this MSDF, Jack. And if their paperwork's real, we're not just fighting thugs, we're fighting a system. I looked over at the goats. Maggie was chewing on a loose wire like a trophy and said, "System or not, I won't let Grace lose her land. If they come back tomorrow, I'll be ready, and this time, I'm bringing more than goats." I headed back to the truck and checked the herd. Maggie looked at me like she knew the real battle was coming. Veronica Miles wasn't Karen. She was colder, more professional, and backed by real money. But I had Grace, Luke, and a herd of fearless goats. I told myself, Plan B wants to play big? Fine, I'll play even bigger. After Veronica Miles and the Midwest Safety Task Force, MSDF, left Grace's farm with a threat to return the next morning, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared. I've survived tornado seasons that flattened chicken coops and still came out fine, but because that chill in Veronica's voice stuck to me like flies on goat manure. Beta is not your game, she said. And that email from V. Miles to MR that Luke picked up only confirmed one thing. This wasn't just about Grace's land. Or mine. This was a much bigger game, and we hadn't even seen all the pieces on the board. I sat in Grace's kitchen, holding a cup of cold coffee, watching Luke flip through the papers that had fallen from Sunglasses Guy's bag, trying to find a clue before the sun came up. Grace placed her shotgun on the table and sat across from me. "Jack, you don't have to stay. I fought Karen's people on my own. I can do it again." I shook my head. "Grace, did you see Veronica? She's not Karen. She doesn't yell through a megaphone or stomp like a brat. She's got money, people, and what she calls authority. I'm not letting you face this alone." Luke chimed in, holding up the email. "Jack's right. This MSDF isn't a cosplay HOA crew like last time. This email's from Veronica Miles to MR, same initials from Karen's email. Mason Ridge Holdings is the thread, but I bet there's something bigger pulling it." He tapped the table. "I heard Zach Larson, the county planning director, was suspended last week for taking bribes. If I'm right, he's a link in this chain." I frowned. "Zach Larson? That guy who used to go fishing with my dad and brag about his new car all the time?" Luke nodded. "Yeah, him. I think he signed off fake permits for Karen, and now he may be tied to MSDF. His office is in town. If we snoop around, we might find something." I chuckled, not really amused. "Snoop around? You're the sheriff, and you're asking me to break the law." Luke smirked. "Not break the law, just do a little safety inspection, like MSDF did with Grace. But I can't go. If I get caught, I'll lose my badge. You, on the other hand, Jack." I looked at him, then at Grace. "All right, but I need someone to go with me, someone quick, who doesn't mind getting into trouble." My mind immediately went to Ellie, the 22-year-old who worked part-time on my ranch, always wore her baseball cap backward and sang Taylor Swift while feeding the goats. After Darren's betrayal, I didn't hire anyone new, but Ellie stayed, earning my trust by helping fix fences and even learning how to whistle for the goats. I called her, even though the clock said 1 a.m. She answered, groggy. "Jack? Why are you calling this late? Maggie bust the pin again?" "No, Ellie. I need your help. It's a little crazy, a little illegal, but it's for Grace. Are you in?" She was silent for a second, then laughed. "Crazy like letting goats chase gray suit guys yesterday? I'm in. I'll be there in 20. Ellie showed up to Grace's farm on her old mountain bike, wearing a black hoodie and a backward cap, looking more like she was about to rob a store than feed livestock. I showed her the email and told her about Zach. "I need you to break into Zach Larson's office with me. Luke thinks he's connected to MSDF, and if we find proof, Grace might be able to keep her land." She shrugged. "I once climbed into the principal's office window to get my phone back in high school. This should be easy. But if we get caught, you're paying bail." "Deal," I said. Luke gave me the office address, a small building on the edge of town, where Zach worked before his suspension, and reminded us. "Look for documents, emails, anything with Mason Ridge or MSDF. Don't leave any trace." We drove in silence. The only sounds were gravel crunching under the tires and Ellie softly humming Bad Blood. Zach's office was on the second floor of an old building, its glass door dusty, the sign County Planning Office faded and chipped. I used the massive wrench from the truck to pry open the back door, not too hard, since the lock was rusted like no one had touched it in weeks. Ellie whispered, "You're like a pro, Jack." I grinned. "I learned from movies, not real life." We crept inside, flashlight in Ellie's hand scanning stacks of papers and Zach's messy desk. It smelled like old coffee and damp paper, but I didn't care. I needed proof. Ellie found Zach's computer under a pile of phishing magazines and turned it on. No password. What an amateur. She scrolled through emails while I rifled through file drawers. 10 minutes in, I pulled out a thick folder labeled Midwest Beta Project, Confidential. I flipped through maps of the Midwest with 500 acres of farmland marked in red, plans for an eco-industrial hub featuring solar plants, automated warehouses, and employee resorts. Grace's farm was dead center, marked Phase 1, secure before December 31st. Another page listed sponsors, Mason Ridge Holdings. With a signature, MR, I bet it stood for Maxwell Ridge. Ellie whispered, Jack, come look at this. The screen showed an email from v.miles to maxwell.ridge at mrholdings.com. Callahan is interfering at Harlow. Recommend accelerating beta. May need federal support if sheriff gets involved. Reply from Maxwell. Do it. I've spoken to Senator K. The act will pass before Christmas. Keep Callahan busy. Target the girl if needed. My blood froze. The girl meant Lily, and the envelope sent to her school wasn't random. Ellie stared at me. Jack, these guys aren't kidding. This is DC level, people in air-conditioned boardrooms, not Karen's thugs. I nodded. Yeah, and they're targeting Lily to scare me. Big mistake. I took photos of the documents with my phone, sent them to Luke, then stuffed the physical copies into my jacket. No trace left behind, but I needed this evidence. We left the office, locked the door like nothing happened, and sped back to Grace's. On the way, my phone rang, unknown number, no area code. I answered, growling. Who is this? A deep voice, filtered and distorted, replied. Callahan, you've dug too deep. Stop, or Lily won't make it to school tomorrow. I shouted. Touch my niece and I'll find you, no matter if you're in DC or hiding underground. I'll break your damn neck. He chuckled darkly. 24 hours, Callahan. Choose wisely. Then hung up. I slammed the steering wheel, startling Ellie. Jack, chill. Who was that? I gritted my teeth. They know I'm onto them. They're threatening Lily to make me stop. She was quiet for a second, then said, You're not stopping, are you? I looked at her. No, I'm not letting Grace lose her land, and I'm not letting them scare me. But I need Luke to protect Lily. I called Luke right then, voice urgent. Luke, they just called, threaten Lily. Go to her school, pick her up, take her to my place, and stay with her and her mom. I'm not messing around. Luke replied. I'm on it. You sent me the proof. I'll send it to the FBI if needed. But Jack, if this is Maxwell Ridge, he's got the money to buy the law. We returned to Grace's farm at 3 a.m. Ellie stayed to help stand watch. Grace was still awake, sitting in her armchair with the shotgun on her lap. Find anything, Jack? I placed the folder on the table. Enough to know they want this whole region, 500 acres from here to Kansas, for an industrial zone. Veronica works for Maxwell Ridge, a DC tycoon. They threatened Lily to stop me. Grace took my hand. You can't stop, Jack. This land is all I have. If I lose it, I lose everything I have left of my husband. I nodded. I'm not stopping. But I need you, Luke, and Ellie too. Tomorrow morning, when MSDF comes back, we show them we don't fold that easy. I looked out the window and saw Maggie standing near the barn, eyes glowing in the moonlight like she knew the real battle was coming. Veronica and Maxwell Ridge had money, power, and a fake law. But I had family, friends, and a herd of goats ready to headbutt anything in their way. I told myself, Plan B wants to target Lily? Fine, I'll target their entire empire. December 5th came faster than I expected, like when you know a storm's coming but still get surprised when the wind rips the roof off your barn. After the threat to Lily and the pile of documents from Zach Larson's office, I couldn't sleep, not out of fear, but fury. Veronica Miles and her Midwest Safety Task Force, MSDF, wanted to take Grace's land, mine, and the entire Midwest to turn it into an industrial park for a bunch of DC elites. I was sitting in Grace's kitchen at 4 a.m., gripping a cup of cold coffee, watching Grace check the shells in her shotgun and Ellie tying her boots, ready for whatever came next. Luke had called back at midnight to confirm Lily was safe at my house with her mom, under his and another deputy's protection, but the words, Lily won't be going to school tomorrow, still haunted me like a knife to the chest. Grace looked at me, eyes blazing despite having stayed up all night. Jack, are you sure about this? They're not like Karen's people. They have machines, manpower, and money. I smirked. Grace, I'm as sure as I am that Maggie will headbutt anything that steps on this land. They might be stronger than Karen, but they don't know us. Ellie chimed in, wearing her backward baseball cap. I don't know how to fight, Jack, but I can run fast. Just tell me what to do. I nodded. Good. Today, you're our runner. I checked my phone, reading Luke's last message. I'm prepping an arrest warrant for Veronica for overstepping authority. Don't let them destroy anything before I arrive. I typed back. Hurry. I'm not waiting. By 6:30 a.m., as the sky began to lighten, the rumble of engines echoed from the West Road, not just 4 or 5 SUVs like before, but a whole convoy, 3 big trucks carrying bulldozers, 2 sleek black SUVs, and a small armored vehicle with a giant MSDF logo on the door. Veronica Miles stepped out of the lead SUV, wearing a sharp black suit, her fiery red hair tied high. No sunglasses this time, her ice blue eyes scanned us like fish caught in a net. She was flanked by over a dozen gray-suited men, not Karen's bumbling clipboard gang, but professional security, earpieces, steel toe boots, and a few with holstered sidearms, not drawn, but enough to raise every hair on the back of my neck. Veronica raised a megaphone, her voice echoing across the valley. Jack Callahan, Grace Harlow, under the Midwest Redevelopment Act, this land is officially under MSDF control. We have federal authorization, vacate immediately, or we will proceed with forced demolition. She held up a thick folder sealed with a red stamp, looked more legit than anything Karen ever waved around. Grace stepped to the fence, shotgun slung over her shoulder. Federal orders? I'm not going anywhere. This is my land, and I'll shoot anyone who steps past that gate. Veronica gave a cold smirk. Mrs. Harlow, do you really think you can shoot your way through this entire team? Callahan, I thought you were smarter. Back off, for your niece's sake. I walked forward to stand beside Grace, arms crossed. Mention Lily one more time, Veronica, and you won't be walking out of here in one piece. Is that order real, or just another forged stunt like Karen's? She tossed the file over the fence. I caught it and flipped through. A federal judge in Ohio had signed it, official seal, dated 3 days ago. My gut twisted. It wasn't fake. But Luke said this act didn't exist, so where the hell did this come from? I shouted. I don't trust papers bought with Maxwell Ridge's dirty money. If you want this land, come through me first. Veronica signaled her crew. Start demolition. Begin with the barn. I didn't wait. I whistled twice. The goat call they knew. Maggie charged out of the pen like a storm, her curved horns gleaming in the morning light, leading Billy, Daisy, and Rusty. Maggie rammed the nearest guy, sending him flying, his sidearm splashing into the mud. Billy leapt onto a bulldozer's windshield and stomped hard, cracking the glass. Daisy bit through a power cable linking the bulldozer to the truck, yanking it clean with a satisfying snap. Rusty, despite his age, sank his teeth into a security guy's boot, making him scream. Someone shoot this thing. Get it off me. Grace fired a warning shot into the air. Boom. The sound made the whole crew freeze. You shoot Jack's goats. I shoot back. Try me. Veronica yelled. Stop. Don't let them ruin the equipment. But it wasn't over. Ellie dashed from the porch with a giant bucket, not to put out fires, but to throw straight onto the second bulldozer. Sparks flew. Smoke billowed. She shouted. Who needs a gun when you've got water? I laughed. That's my girl, Ellie. The MSDF team scrambled. One guy reached for his sidearm, but Maggie knocked him flat, his gun bouncing away. Veronica stood in the chaos, face burning red, barking into her earpiece. Calling Team 2. I need backup and functioning equipment now. I thought we could hold them until Luke arrived, but then a different truck rolled in from the East Road, not MSDF. It was Don Wallace, my old neighbor and lawyer. Don jumped out of his battered pickup, hair wild, megaphone in one hand and a folder in the other. Veronica Miles. I'm Don Wallace, legal representative for Grace Harlow and Jack Callahan. This is a temporary restraining order from the county court. You've overstepped federal authority, and I have evidence Mason Ridge Holdings bribed Senator Krieger to pass a fake act. He tossed the folder, hit her boots. Veronica picked it up, skimmed it, and snarled. You think this stops me? We have DC support. But Don wasn't done. From the main road, Mrs. Delaney sped up in a golf cart, wearing a floral nightgown, wielding a broom. Hit them, Jack. Show them not to mess with country folk. She parked her cart across the gate and yelled. You want to get through? Run me over. Then came Sarah and Gwen, the single mom who once lost her land to the HOA. She drove a small truck full of local farmers wielding shovels, hoes, and even lumber. Sarah climbed down, eyes red. Jack, Dawn told me what's happening. If Grace loses her land, I'll never forgive myself for giving up last time. We fight together. The crowd roared, holding their tools like a medieval army. Veronica, surrounded by goats, lawyers, grandmas with brooms, and a farmer militia, yelled into her earpiece. Team 2. Now. We're surrounded. Then came real sirens, Luke, leading 3 patrol cars, lights flashing. He stepped out, full uniform, holding an arrest warrant. Veronica Miles, you're under arrest for exceeding federal authority, civil threat, and bribery. I have sworn testimony from Zach Larson and documents from Mason Ridge. Hands out. 2 deputies moved in, cuffing Veronica. She didn't scream, didn't fight. She just stared at me, venom in her eyes. MR will send Plan C, Callahan. You think you've won, but this is just the beginning. I replied. Bring it on, Veronica. I've got the whole county behind me. What do you have? She was shoved into the cruiser, but before the doors shut, she smiled, a smile that chilled my spine. The MSDF crumbled. Bulldozers fried. Security retreated when the real police showed up, leaving trucks and gear scattered like junk. Grace hugged me. Jack, you did it. I get to keep my land. Thank you. Dawn clapped me on the back. The court's going to look into this. If Mason Ridge really bribed officials, we could topple the whole system. Mrs. Delaney waved her broom. See, Jack? Never underestimate us country folk. Sarah squeezed my hand. Thank you for fighting for all of us. I smiled, but it didn't last. Ellie ran over, holding a USB she snagged from Veronica's SUV. Jack, I found this when they ran. You need to see it. I plugged it into my phone. A video played Lily in her schoolyard yesterday, filmed from a distance. A distorted voice narrated. Callahan, beta is only the beginning. Plan C targets the entire region, back off, or the girl pays the price. My blood ran cold. I turned to Luke. They filmed Lily. They know where she is. Luke gripped my shoulder. I'll send this to the FBI. Maxwell Ridge won't get away. But Jack, you need to be careful. They're not done. I nodded, watching the goats wander the yard, Maggie chewing on another severed wire like a war trophy. I'd won today, but that USB made it clear. The war isn't over. And next time, the enemy will be stronger than ever. After Veronica Miles was cuffed and the Midwest Safety Task Force, MSDF, scattered, defeated by goats, a broom-wielding grandma, our lawyer Dawn, and a bunch of farmers with shovels, I stood in the middle of Grace's yard, still gripping the USB Ellie had picked up from Veronica's SUV. The smell of burning wires mixed with goat manure, and the morning sunlight cast a glow on Grace's white barn like one of those victory scenes you'd see in a Hollywood film, only dirtier and much more goat-flavored. Grace hugged me again, her voice breaking. Jack, you saved my land. You saved my memory of Tom. I patted her shoulder. We saved it together, Grace. And Maggie deserves a medal too. Maggie, the fiercest goat in the herd, looked up from the wires she was chewing, like she agreed. Luke walked over, holding the arrest warrant for Veronica, his eyes heavy with thought. Jack, I sent the video from that USB to a contact at the FBI in Columbus. If Maxwell Ridge is behind this, he's not walking away clean. But this. He pointed at the abandoned MSDF vehicles. This wasn't some amateur op. These people have money, manpower, and a system. Ellie, still wearing her backwards cap, chimed in. Yeah, but they don't have goats or a granny with a broom like Mrs. Delaney. Don Wallace chuckled. Damn right. I'm taking this case to federal court. Bribing Senator Krieger isn't a slap on the wrist offense. But Jack, that video of Lily, that's not a joke. I nodded, the cold from that voice, the girl will pay still lingering in my spine. We returned to Grace's house, gathering around the kitchen table, me, Luke, Grace, Ellie, and Dawn to review the USB. I plugged it into Grace's old laptop. The screen flickered, then a video appeared, Lily playing basketball at school yesterday, filmed from behind the fence, handheld and shaky. A distorted voice spoke. Callahan, beta is just the beginning. Plan C is the entire region, back off, or the girl pays the price. The clip ended on Lily's smiling face, oblivious that she was being watched, and I felt my chest tighten. Luke slammed his palm on the table. Bastards. They're targeting Lily to scare you, Jack. I'll assign more protection. Her mom needs to know too. I nodded. Yeah, I won't let them touch a hair on her head. But I need to know who Maxwell Ridge really is. Luke opened an email from his FBI contact. A short file popped up. Maxwell Ridge, 58, real estate tycoon based in Washington, D.C., owner of Mason Ridge Holdings, a parent company behind dozens of land projects across the U.S. He was once an advisor to the Federal Planning Committee and had connections to Senator Krieger and other politicians. The file noted. Suspected of bribery and land law manipulation, no confirmed evidence yet. I skimmed his photo, a salt-and-pepper-haired man with a square jaw, gray suit, and a smug smile like he knew he was untouchable. Luke said, Jack, if he lobbied for federal laws to grab land here, Plan B was just the pilot. He wants 500 acres from here to Kansas for some eco-industrial park. Grace's land is the keystone. Ellie frowned. Eco-industrial? That sounds like greenwash bull. They want factories and profit, not trees. Don nodded. Exactly. I've seen these scams. They use the word eco to sell it, then build warehouses, golf courses, and luxury staff villas. If Maxwell wins, every farm around here will be concrete. Grace clenched her fists. Tom didn't die so some rich bastard could steal my land. I looked at her. And we won't let them. But I need to do something so they stop targeting Lily. I decided to act, not just wait on the FBI or courts. I called Jake Hensley, a local journalist I'd met at the county fair, the one who wrote about the Karen incident for the town paper. Jake answered. Jack? What now, more HOA drama? Karen wasn't enough? I gave a dry laugh. This is bigger than Karen, Jake. I've got proof Maxwell Ridge bribed his way to steal Midwest land. Documents, emails, video. Will you run it? He paused. Hell yes. Send me everything. If it checks out, the whole state's gonna hear about it. I sent him everything. Photos of Zach's files, Veronica's emails to Maxwell, and the video of Lily, edited to hide her face, but leaving the voice thread in. Jake messaged back. Holy hell, Jack. This is explosive. I'm running it tonight. Brace yourself. The article dropped at 8 p.m. Headline. DC billionaires plot to steal Midwest land. Farmers fight back with goats and shotguns. It covered everything from the Karen scandal to Plan B, named Maxwell Ridge, Senator Krieger, and MSDF. It included Zach Larson's testimony. Luke had pushed him to talk to the FBI, plus photos of the classified documents. It spread like wildfire. Locals shared it on Facebook, Twitter, hell, even an Ohio news station picked it up. The next morning, Don's phone rang nonstop. Lawyers from 3 neighboring counties called, saying MSDF had threatened them too. They wanted in on the lawsuit. Don grinned. Jack, you've stirred up a hornet's nest. Maxwell Ridge will face court. The FBI's in now. But I didn't celebrate long. That afternoon, another black envelope appeared. This time slipped under Grace's door while Ellie and I were fixing the fence. I opened it. A map of the Midwest with dozens of red targets. Not just Grace. Not just me. The whole damn region. 500 acres, just like the documents said. Typed message. Plan C, all or nothing. Callahan, you can't stop me. I slipped the envelope into my pocket, hand trembling, not with fear, but rage. Maxwell Ridge wasn't quitting. And Plan C. It was bigger than I imagined, not just one farm, but the entire land I called home. That night, I picked up Lily from Luke's. She ran out and hugged me. Uncle Jack, Mom said you beat the bad guys again. I smiled, ruffling her hair. Yep, me and Maggie. But this time, I need you to be brave, okay? She nodded. Okay. I want to learn to shoot like Mrs. Grace. I took her to the backyard, opened the old gun safe, and pulled out Dad's shotgun, not to fire, just to teach her how to hold it. Lily, this land is ours. If anyone tries to take it, you need to know how to protect it. Like I do. She nodded, eyes shining. I'll protect it like you. And Maggie, too. I stood on the porch that night, looking out over the fields under moonlight. Maggie and the goats wandered near the barn, peaceful, as if no war had ever happened. We had one Plan B. Grace kept her land. Veronica was arrested. Maxwell Ridge exposed. But that final black envelope reminded me the fight wasn't over. Maxwell had money, power, and the law in his pocket. But I had Luke, Grace, Ellie, Dawn, Mrs. Delaney, Sarah, and this whole damn town behind me. I thought of my father. If someone tries to steal your land, make them pay dearly. I'd done it with Karen, with Veronica. And I'd do it again if Maxwell brought Plan C. Living in America, You're told land means freedom. But freedom isn't free. It's not granted by men like Maxwell Ridge, sitting in D.C. offices, sipping $200 wine while drawing maps to steal the land of people who sweat for a living. It's held in your hands, in your blood, and sometimes in a herd of goats ready to headbutt anything that stands in their way. The law can be bought, but not spirit. We are steel forged in hard times, built through battles nobody broadcasts on TV. Maxwell wants this region? Then he'll have to fight an army, not just me, but everyone who calls the Midwest home. I picked up the black envelope and locked it in the steel box beneath my living room floor, not to forget, but to remind myself to stay ready. I looked at Maggie outside and muttered, "You ready for Plan C, Sergeant?" She munched on grass, looked at me, and it was like she said, "Give me the target, I'll charge." And I knew, no matter how powerful Maxwell Ridge thought he was, he didn't understand one thing. Folks like us don't give up. Not ever. I walked back inside, thinking of all of you. Everyone who's followed this story here on HOA Karen Files. If you love this explosive showdown, hit that like button so Maggie knows she's still the star. Drop a comment. What do you think Plan C will look like? Or have you ever faced a Maxwell Ridge in your own life? And if you want to stand with me against the next round of drama, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because I have a feeling Maxwell's not done yet. And I'm gonna need my army ready. Thanks for sticking with me. Now go to sleep before the goats tear down the barn. Fake HOA cops Plan C fails, but a traitor in my Midwest alliance shocks me. Hey folks, welcome back to HOA Karen Files. If you thought the battle with Veronica and the fake HOA cops in Plan B was peak drama, buckle up, because Plan C is going to blow your mind. I'm Jack Callahan, your storyteller, and today we face the biggest conspiracy yet. Maxwell Ridge, the billionaire behind Karen, is now targeting the entire Midwest, and this time, he's playing dirtier than ever. The Chaos Goats, my brother Sheriff Luke, and our entire community are ready. But are we enough? Help keep my spirits up by smashing that like button right now. It's like a headbutt from Maggie straight to Maxwell's smug face. Drop a comment and guess how insane Plan C will get. And don't forget to hit subscribe with the notification bell so you won't miss a second of this war. Let's dive in. 2 weeks after Veronica Miles was cuffed and the Midwest Safety Task Force, MSTF, crumbled, I thought I could finally catch my breath. Grace Farm still stood strong. My goats, Maggie, Billy, Daisy, and Rusty, were back to lazily grazing like they hadn't rammed a bulldozer into a ditch, and Jake Hensley's expose on Maxwell Ridge had gone statewide, prompting the FBI to step in. But deep down, I knew that final black envelope labeled Plan C, all or nothing, wasn't a joke. Maxwell Ridge, the D.C. real estate mogul, wasn't the kind of man to quit. He had money, power, and the law in his pocket. I just didn't expect him to strike so soon. It was Wednesday morning. I was brewing coffee in my dad's dented tin mug, watching my niece Lily play with Daisy in the yard. She's 8, with wild brown hair, giggling as Daisy licked her hands. I thought to myself, you've got to keep her safe, Jack. Don't let Maxwell get near her. Luke had already increased security around Lily after that surveillance video Veronica had on her USB stick, but I still checked the fences every morning, not for runaway goats, but because that chill from Plan B hadn't left me. I had just retightened the barbed wire on the east fence when my phone rang. Don Wallace's number popped up, our neighbor and the lawyer who helped us beat Veronica. I picked up. Don, what's the news? Did the FBI nab Maxwell yet? Don was panting through the phone. Jack, it's bad. Maxwell just made bail. Not Veronica, Maxwell himself. The FBI summoned him last week for bribing Senator Krieger, but his lawyer spun it as a legal business transaction. He's in Ohio, Jack, our town. My blood ran cold. Ohio? What the hell's he doing here? Don replied, hosting a public town hall tonight at the county community center. Open invite to all local farmers. I bet he's here to buy land. But Jack, I got word from a source inside the FBI. Maxwell's been lobbying a new federal bill called the Midwest Land Reallocation Act. If it passes, he can legally seize 500 acres, from your farm to Kansas. I slammed my hand on the fence, startling Daisy, who bolted. Legally? He's buying the law to steal our land. Don confirmed, exactly. And Jack, he's got a new team, not MSDF, but a private security firm, like a Blackwater-type outfit. These guys aren't fake cops. They're real mercenaries. I clenched my jaw. Fine. If Maxwell wants to play, I'll play. I'm going to that meeting tonight. Are you coming? Don agreed. I'm in. But Jack, bring Luke. I've got a bad feeling about this. I called Luke right after, told him everything. He was patrolling the southern end of the county, and he growled. Maxwell Ridge showing up here? He's got nerve. I'll be at that meeting. But Jack, be careful. If he's got hired guns, this ain't a bluff. I nodded. I know. But I'm not letting him take our land. Not Grace's, not Sarah's, not anybody's. I hung up, looked back at Lily still playing in the yard, and decided not to say anything to her. Not yet. But I knew. If Maxwell was targeting the entire region, I'd need more than Goats and Luke. I'd need the whole community. That evening, I drove my pickup to the county community center, Luke in the passenger seat, badge gleaming, and Don in the back with a thick folder, bribery evidence from Plan B. The place was packed. Over 200 farmers from around the county, from 70-year-olds like Mrs. Delaney to single moms like Sarah and Gwen. The air was heavy with whispers about Maxwell, the Reallocation Act, and rumors that their land was next. I stood in a corner and watched Maxwell Ridge take the stage. A 58-year-old man with salt and pepper hair, a square jaw, expensive gray suit, and a smug grin that said untouchable. He wasn't alone. 6 men in black, earpieces in, cold eyes, clear mercs flanked him. Maxwell grabbed the mic, voice smooth and deep. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Maxwell Ridge, CEO of Mason Ridge Holdings. I'm here to bring opportunity to the Midwest, a cutting-edge eco-industrial zone, with jobs, schools, and homes for all. But to do that, I need land, 500 acres, from this county to Kansas. I'll pay above market value. But if you refuse, the newly passed Midwest Land Reallocation Act grants me the legal authority to proceed. The crowd buzzed, some shouted, "Get out of here!" Maxwell raised a hand. I understand your emotions. But this is progress. Nothing can stop it. I'd had enough. I stepped forward. Maxwell Ridge, I'm Jack Callahan. You've got the nerve to show your face after sending Karen, then Veronica, to steal our land? You think we're stupid? Your law was bought with dirty money. We've got proof of your bribe to Senator Krieger. The crowd roared. Maxwell smirked. Callahan, I know who you are. You beat Karen. You beat Veronica. But this isn't a local game anymore. Got proof? Show it, or shut up. Don held up the folder. Here, Maxwell. Emails, transactions, testimony from Zach Larson. It all points to you. Maxwell laughed. Fake docs. My lawyers will tear that apart in 10 minutes. And you, Callahan, better watch yourself. I hear you've got a cute little niece, Lily, right? My heart skipped a beat. He dared mention Lily, out loud, in front of everyone. Luke gripped my shoulder, whispering, "Stay calm, Jack. He wants you to snap." But I couldn't help it. I shouted, "Touch my niece, and I swear, you won't leave this room in one piece, Maxwell." The crowd erupted, fists raised, but Maxwell only smiled. 24 hours, Callahan. Sell the land, or I take it. And this time, no one's coming to save you. He stepped off the stage, flanked by his mercs, leaving behind an air heavier than a brewing storm. On the drive home, Luke said, "Jack, I'll send this folder to the FBI again, but Maxwell's got top-tier lawyers. We'll need stronger evidence. And I'm assigning more protection for Lily. He mentioned her to rattle you." I nodded. I know. But I'm not letting him win. Not this time. I got home, watched Lily sleeping on the sofa, and made a vow. Maxwell, you want this whole region? You'll have to face an army, and I'll be leading it. After the town hall, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the lukewarm coffee I drank at 1 a.m., but because Maxwell Ridge's threat about Lily kept echoing in my mind. He didn't just want land. He wanted to break me, break the entire Midwest, and he was willing to get dirty to do it. I sat in the kitchen staring at the map from the black Plan C envelope. Dozens of red coordinates from Grace Farm to Kansas. 500 acres Maxwell wanted to transform into his eco-industrial empire. I knew I couldn't fight this alone. Not against mercenaries, federal law, and an entire system backing Maxwell. I needed an army, and luckily, I had a whole community ready. The next morning, I called Grace, Dawn, Sarah and Gwen, and Ellie over to the house. Grace showed up first, shotgun in hand, eyes blazing. "Jack, I heard what happened last night. Maxwell threatened Lily. He just kicked a hornet's nest he's gonna regret." Dawn arrived next, laptop in tow. "Jack, I reached out to lawyers in 3 neighboring counties. They've been threatened by Maxwell too. If we unite, we can file a class action lawsuit. Sarah walked in, eyes red. Jack, I'm not letting Maxwell steal anyone else's land. I lost mine once. I won't let it happen again. Ellie, wearing a backwards baseball cap, grinned. I don't know anything about lawsuits, but I run fast. Tell me what you need, Jack. I spread the map out on the table. Everyone, this is Plan C. Maxwell wants 500 acres, from here to Kansas. He's got federal law, mercenaries, and top-tier lawyers. But we've got each other, and we've got the heart of this region. Grace nodded. We need more people, not just from our county, but the whole Midwest. Don chimed in. I know someone who might help. A young hacker named Cody, works freelance in Columbus. If Maxwell lobbied with bribes, Cody can dig up digital proof, emails, transactions, whatever. I nodded. Do it. Don, contact Cody. Sarah, call the other farmers. We need an alliance. Ellie, help me prep the farm. If Maxwell attacks, we need to be ready. Sarah worked fast. In 2 days, she gathered over 50 farmers from 5 surrounding counties, from 80-year-olds like Hank Miller to young moms like Jenna Cole. We held the meeting at Grace Farm and called ourselves the Midwest Alliance. I stood on a wooden crate and addressed everyone. Maxwell Ridge thinks we're just dumb farmers, easy to bribe or scare. But we're made of steel. We've survived storms, droughts, and everything else. He wants our land. He's going to pay dearly. The crowd erupted, raising shovels, pitchforks, even hunting rifles, not for violence, but to show we weren't backing down. Don made contact with Cody, a 24-year-old hacker with neon blue hair, round glasses, looking like he'd walked off a sci-fi set. He arrived at Grace Farm with a laptop and a can of Red Bull. Jack, Don told me about Maxwell. I once hacked a major insurance company. This'll be easy. Give me 48 hours. I'll find the bribery evidence. I nodded. Do it, Cody. But be careful. Maxwell's got people everywhere. Cody grinned. I was born careful, man. While Cody worked non-stop, Ellie and I reinforced the farm. We put up new barbed wire fences, set up simple tripwire traps around the goat pens, non-lethal, just to slow intruders, and checked the hunting ammo. Ellie hummed Shake It Off while tying wire, then asked, Jack, what do you think Maxwell will try next? He can't just buy us all, right? I shook my head. He doesn't need to buy us. He's got federal law. But I bet he'll try to scare us first. He already targeted Lily. I'm not letting that happen again. Ellie nodded. I'll keep an eye on her. If anything's off, I'll sprint straight to you. That afternoon, Sarah returned with news. Jack, I spoke with 70 farmers. Everyone wants in. But there's a problem. Some of them got black envelopes like yours, with threats, sell your land, or lose everything. One of them, Hank Miller, said a man in black showed up at his farm last night, smashed his chicken coop, and left a note. Final warning. Maxwell is applying pressure. I clenched my jaw. He wants to scare us into selling. But we're not backing down, we fight. Cody worked around the clock. By the evening of the second day, he called me via Zoom. Jack, I've got it. I hacked Maxwell's emails. He sent Senator Krieger an attachment detailing a $2 million transaction to lobby for the Reallocation Act. There's even audio. Maxwell says clearly, this bill must pass before Christmas, or I lose 500 acres. I also found emails to a guy named Victor Kane, head of a private military group called Blackthorn Security. Maxwell wrote, apply pressure to Callahan. Target the girl if needed. I froze. The girl, he means Lily? Cody nodded. Exactly. Jack, you have to protect her. Victor Kane's not just some goon. I called Luke immediately. Luke, it's real. Maxwell's targeting Lily. Cody found the email. Maxwell ordered a guy named Victor Kane, a mercenary leader, to pressure me through Lily. Luke exploded. Son of a... I'm bringing Lily to my place now. Her mom needs to know. I'll call backup from the Columbus PD, but Jack, you better watch your back. Blackthorn Security doesn't mess around. I nodded. I know, but I need you here too. If Maxwell makes a move, I need my brother. Luke agreed. I'll be there tomorrow morning, with the whole unit. I returned to Grace Farm, where the Midwest Alliance was holding its second meeting. I told everyone about Maxwell's emails, about Victor Kane, and the danger to Lily. Grace raised her shotgun. If Maxwell lays a finger on Lily, I'll shoot first and ask later. Sarah held my hand. Jack, we're here for you. for all of us. If Maxwell wants land, he'll have to go through this entire region. Mrs. Delaney, still in her floral nightgown, raised a broom. Darn right. I'll sweep those mercs off our land. The crowd burst into laughter, but I saw the steel in their eyes. We weren't just farmers anymore. We were a family. That night, I stood in the yard watching Maggie munch grass under the moonlight. The meanest goat in the herd looked up, sensing the fight ahead. I whispered, "Maggie, you ready? Maxwell wants to play dirty. We'll play dirtier." Maggie bleated once, like she understood. With the Midwest Alliance, Cody, and my stubborn herd of goats, I had a shot, but Maxwell had already gone after Lily. And for that, I would never forgive him. After the Midwest Alliance was formed and Cody uncovered the email from Maxwell Ridge ordering Victor Kane to target Lily, I knew our time was running out. Maxwell wasn't the kind of man who waited. He had already publicly threatened Lily at the town hall, and the email Cody hacked only confirmed he was willing to go dirtier than ever. I stood in the yard of Grace Farm at 5 a.m., holding a cold cup of coffee, watching Maggie and the goats lazily munching grass. But I felt no peace. The chill I had from Plan B had turned into a storm inside me. I knew Maxwell would strike, and I had to be ready. Luke arrived that morning with 3 officers from the Columbus Department, not local patrol guys, but the ones he trusted most. He stepped out of the cruiser, badge gleaming, voice low and steady. "Jack, I moved Lily and her mom to my place. I've got 2 men on them 24/7, but you need to be careful. Victor Kane and Blackthorn Security are no joke. I sent Cody's emails to the FBI, but they need time to investigate." I nodded. "Thanks, Luke. But I'm not waiting for the FBI. If Maxwell wants to play, I'm playing first." Luke frowned. "What do you mean?" I smirked. "I'm going to show him we're not afraid. The Midwest Alliance is ready, and so is Maggie." I called Grace, Sarah, Ellie, and Dawn to an emergency meeting at the farm. Grace showed up with a shotgun slung over her shoulder. Sarah brought a list of 70 farmers who'd joined the alliance. Ellie wore her backwards cap, and Don carried his laptop loaded with Cody's data. I said, "Everyone, Maxwell ordered Victor Kane to target Lily, but I won't let that happen. He wants to scare us, to make us sell. Today, we show him we won't back down." Sarah nodded. "Jack, I told the other farmers, they're ready. Hank Miller and Jenna Cole are organizing patrols around nearby farms to report any suspicious activity." Ellie added, "I've set tripwire traps around the goat pens, non-lethal, but enough to slow them down." Grace raised her gun. "Good. If they come here, I'll shoot first and ask questions later." Maxwell didn't wait long. That afternoon, while Ellie and I were inspecting the fence, a sleek black SUV pulled up on the West Road. Not the kind MSDF used back in Plan B, but an armored vehicle with the Blackthorn Security logo on the door. 3 men stepped out, dressed in black, steel-toe boots, wireless earpieces, and sidearms holstered. The leader, tall, buzz-cut, scarred face, walked up to the fence and said coldly, "Jack Callahan, I'm Victor Kane, commander of Blackthorn Security. Maxwell Ridge sends his regards. Sell the land now, or we'll take it, starting with this farm." I crossed my arms. "Victor, you can tell Maxwell I'm not selling. If he wants this land, he'll have to go through me." Victor smirked. "I didn't come to negotiate, Callahan. This is your final warning. Next time, we won't talk." He turned to leave, but before getting into the SUV, one of the men tossed a black envelope over the fence, just like the ones before. I picked it up, opened it. Inside was a photo of Lily walking home from school, backpack in hand, smiling at a friend. Scrawled in ink, "Cute kid. Would be a shame if something happened." My heart pounded, not from fear, but fury. Ellie looked over my shoulder, her face going pale. "Jack, they're watching Lily?" I gritted my teeth. "Yeah, but they're not going to touch her, I swear." I called Luke immediately. "Luke, Blackthorn just showed up. They had a photo of Lily, and they're threatening her. You need to get her out of there, somewhere absolutely safe." Luke growled, "I'm taking her to Uncle Mark's in Dayton. No one knows about that place." "But Jack, be careful. They're playing real dirty now." I barely had time to prepare when that night, Maxwell made his move, not with bulldozers or paperwork, but with something that nearly broke me. We were mid-meeting with the Midwest Alliance when my phone rang, Lily's mom. I picked up, her voice panicked. "Jack, Lily was attacked." I picked her up from Luke's, We were heading to Dayton when a black SUV cut us off. Two men in black tried to open the doors, but I floored it and got away. She's crying. Jack, they tried to kidnap her. Blood rushed to my head as I shouted. Take a breath. Where are you now? Where's Luke? She answered. I'm at a gas station near Dayton. Luke's on his way. But Jack, they knew where we were. Luke had just arrived at Grace Farm. I turned to him. Luke, Blackthorn just tried to kidnap Lily on the way to Dayton. Her mom got away, but they found them. Luke slammed his hand on the table. God damn it. I'm going to Dayton now. I'm calling backup from the Dayton PD. Jack, stay here and guard the farm. They could strike both places at once. But I couldn't just sit and wait. I turned to Grace. Grace, I need you and Sarah to hold down the fort. Ellie, you're coming with me. We're heading to Dayton. Grace nodded. Go, Jack. I'll protect this place, and Maggie will too. Maggie, as if understanding, let out a loud meh, her curved horns glinting under the lights. Ellie and I jumped into the truck and tore down the road to Dayton. 2 hours, but it felt like a lifetime. Ellie clutched the passenger door, her voice shaky. Jack, if something happens to Lily, I won't forgive myself. I growled. Me neither, Ellie. But they won't touch her, not on my watch. When we arrived at the gas station, Luke was already there, cradling Lily in his arms. She was sobbing, her face pale. Uncle Jack, the bad guys, they tried to take me. I dropped to my knees, held her tight. I'm here now, Lily. No one's going to hurt you. I promise. Her mom was still shaking. Jack, they had guns. If I hadn't floored it. Luke pulled me aside. Jack, that was Blackthorn, no doubt. I've got the FBI tracing the SUV through traffic cams. But Maxwell's playing dirty. He wants you scared, wants you to fold. I clenched my fists. He's wrong, Luke. I'm not folding. I'm fighting to the end. I hugged Lily again and whispered, be strong, okay? I won't let this happen again. She nodded, still tearful. I'll be strong like you and like Maggie. On the way back, I got a call from Sarah. Jack, 3 farms were hit tonight. Hank Miller's chicken coop was burned down, Jenna Cole's fence was cut, and another had sell or die sprayed in red across the barn. Blackthorn stepping up the pressure. I roared. Maxwell thinks we'll cave? He's dead wrong. I called Cody. Cody, you got anything new? Cody replied. Jack, I just found another email. Maxwell to Victor Kane. Increase pressure, vandalism, threats, whatever it takes. If Callahan won't sell, take the kid. I also tracked Victor's IP. He's operating out of an abandoned warehouse near your county. I said, good work, Cody. Send the address to Luke. We're going in. I turned to Luke. We've got Victor Kane's location, an old warehouse nearby. We strike first. We don't wait. Luke nodded. All right. But Jack, we need a plan. Blackthorn isn't fake cops. They're real mercs. I smirked. I've got a plan, and I've got Maggie. I knew this battle wasn't just about land. It was about Lily, about our community, and everything we called home. After the attempted kidnapping of Lily and the wave of farm vandalism carried out by Blackthorn Security, I knew our time was up. Maxwell Ridge didn't just want land. He wanted to crush the spirit of the entire Midwest. And he was doing it by going after the things we loved most. Our families, our homes, our freedom. But he was wrong. I wasn't backing down, and neither was the Midwest Alliance. With Victor Kane's warehouse location provided by Cody, I decided we wouldn't wait for Maxwell to strike again. We'd hit first. This was the final battle, and I was going to make him pay. We gathered at Grace Farm at 3 a.m., the quietest hour, when even the goats were still asleep and the cold pierced through my flannel shirt. Luke stood beside me, police badge gleaming, hand on his sidearm. Jack, I called in backup from the Dayton precinct. They'll be here in an hour. But if we're hitting Victor Kane's warehouse, we need to move fast. Blackthorn aren't fake cops. They're trained mercs. I nodded. I know. But we've got the element of surprise. They don't expect us to strike first. Ellie, cap on backwards, grinned. I'm in, Jack. I'm fast. I'll be the decoy. Grace raised her shotgun. I'm staying here to guard the farm. If they come, Maggie and I will give them hell. Sarah took my hand. Jack, the whole region's behind you. Go. We'll protect everything here. Me, Luke, Ellie, and 3 officers from Dayton, Mike, Tara, and Carlos, jumped in the truck and headed straight for the abandoned warehouse Cody had found, 20 miles east of the farm. The night was pitch black, moonlight barely lighting the bumpy dirt road. The warehouse appeared through the shadows, an old, rusted metal building, with flickering fluorescent light leaking from the windows. I parked 200 meters away and whispered, "Luke, you and the team take the front. Ellie and I will circle around to the back. Ellie, you'll be the distraction, run past the window, draw their attention." Ellie nodded. "Got it, Jack. I'm faster than Maggie on a rampage." We split up. Ellie and I crept through the tall grass toward the back door. She darted across the window and shouted, "Hey, losers, come catch me." Immediately, I heard shouting from inside. 3 Blackthorn goons burst out the front door, guns drawn, chasing Ellie. Luke and his team seized the moment, storming the front with a shout, "Police, drop your weapons." Gunfire rang out, not live rounds, but tear gas rounds from Luke's launcher, making them cough and stumble. I kicked down the back door and charged inside, where I found Victor Kane, tall, scarred, and standing beside a table full of maps and comms gear. Victor turned, drew his pistol. "Callahan, you've got guts, but you really think you can beat me?" I smirked. "I don't need to beat you, Victor. I just need to keep you here until the FBI shows up." He laughed. "The FBI? You think Maxwell can't buy them off?" But before he could pull the trigger, Ellie burst through the window and hurled an old paint can at his head. He staggered, and I dove in, landing a punch square to his jaw and knocking him to the ground. I ripped the gun from his grip and shouted, "You and Maxwell threatened my niece. You're going to pay for that." Luke rushed in and cuffed him. "Jack, the FBI's on the way. We've got him." But it wasn't over yet. On Victor's table sat an open laptop, an email from Maxwell, sent 10 minutes earlier. "Victor, if Callahan strikes, activate Phase 2. Take the girl immediately." My blood went cold. The girl meant Lily. I called her mother right away. "Where's Lily?" "Maxwell just ordered a kidnapping. Asterisk right now. Asterisk." She panicked. "I'm in Dayton, but I left Lily with Luke's team at your uncle's house. I thought it was safe." I turned to Luke. "Where's Lily?" Luke's face went pale. "She's with Tara at Uncle Mark's, but Tara just called. A black SUV is approaching." I didn't wait. I jumped in the truck, Luke and Ellie right behind me. We sped toward Dayton while Luke called Tara. "Tara, protect Lily. Blackthorn's coming." Tara shouted back, "They're here. 2 armed men. I'm holding the door, but we need backup." I floored it, heart pounding. When we arrived, 2 Blackthorn operatives were already at the front door, Tara inside, shouting, "Back off." I leapt from the truck, ran full speed, and slammed my fist into the nearest goon's face. He crumpled. The other drew his weapon, but Luke fired a tear gas round, making him choke. Ellie tackled him from behind, and I kicked his gun away. Inside, Lily was curled behind the sofa, crying. "Uncle Jack." I scooped her up and whispered, "I'm here now, Lily. No one's going to hurt you." Tara, breathing hard, said, "Jack, they had direct orders from Maxwell to take Lily and use her against you." I nodded. "I know, but they failed." Luke cuffed the 2 men and called the FBI. "We've got 2 more, and solid proof Maxwell ordered the kidnapping." With Victor Kane and 2 Blackthorn agents in custody, I knew it was our chance to end this. I called Cody. "Got anything new?" Cody replied, "Jack, I just hacked Maxwell's server. He's in D.C., meeting with Senator Krieger to finalize the Reallocation Act. I've got an audio file. Maxwell says, 'Callahan can't stop me. This bill gets me 500 acres no matter what.' I also have the hotel address, 8 p.m. tonight." I said, "Good work, Cody. Send it to Don. We're heading to D.C." That night, Luke, Don, Ellie, and I flew to D.C. No time to plan, but it didn't matter. We arrived at the hotel where Maxwell was meeting Krieger in a private conference room. Don, carrying a thick folder and Cody's recordings, stepped forward. "Maxwell Ridge, I'm Don Wallace, representing the Midwest Alliance. We have proof you bribed Krieger, ordered a child's abduction, and coordinated domestic sabotage. The FBI is on their way." Maxwell laughed. "Proof? My lawyers will shred it." But Krieger, ghost white, stood up. "Maxwell, if any of this is true, I'm out." He walked away, leaving Maxwell alone. The FBI arrived 10 minutes later and cuffed Maxwell in front of us. He growled, "Callahan, you think you've won? I'll be back. Asterisk, you can't stop progress. Asterisk." I smirked. "You're wrong, Maxwell. Progress isn't stealing land from farmers. Progress is us, standing here, protecting what we love. He was dragged out, and Don clapped my shoulder. Jack, we did it. The bill will be scrapped. The Midwest is safe. On the flight home, I called Grace. Grace, it's over, we won. Maxwell's arrested. The bill is dead. Grace laughed. Well done, Jack. Maggie says she's proud of you. I laughed too, but deep down, I knew this battle left scars, not just on me, but on Lily, on all of us. But we won, not with money, not with power, but with the spirit of the Midwest. After Maxwell Ridge was cuffed and taken away by the FBI from that D.C. hotel, it felt like a giant weight had finally lifted off my chest. He had lost, not because of money or influence, but because of the spirit of the Midwest, because of the Midwest Alliance, and because of people like Grace, Sarah, Ellie, Don, and Cody, people who stood with me when it mattered most. The Midwest Land Reallocation Act was scrapped, Senator Krieger was under investigation, and the 500 acres stretching from Grace Farm to Kansas remained in the hands of those who had bled, sweat, and fought for it. But the victory didn't come cheap. I still remembered Lily's terrified eyes during the kidnapping attempt and the destruction left behind by Victor King. We had won, but at a cost. I flew back to Ohio the next morning, bringing Luke, Ellie, and Don with me. When we arrived at Grace Farm, the whole community had gathered, over 70 farmers from 5 neighboring counties, from old Hank Miller to young mom Jenna Cole. Grace stood in the yard, shotgun in hand, grinning wide. Jack Callahan, I knew you'd do it. Maggie says she's proud of you. Maggie, the fiercest goat of the bunch, let out a loud meh, like she agreed. Sarah ran up and hugged me. Jack, you saved us all, not just our land, but the spirit of the Midwest. Mrs. Delaney, still in her floral nightgown, held up her broom. Told you I'd sweep those mercs off our porches. Laughter broke out across the yard, and for the first time in weeks, I felt warmth. We weren't just neighbors, we were family. Later, I drove out to Dayton to pick up Lily from my uncle's house. She ran out and threw her arms around me. Uncle Jack, Mom said you caught the bad guys. You're amazing. I knelt down, ruffling her hair. I didn't do it alone, Lily. I had the whole Midwest behind me. And you were so strong. She smiled, though fear still lingered in her eyes. Will the bad guys come back? I hesitated. I wanted to say no. But after Karen, Veronica, and Maxwell, I knew I couldn't promise that. So instead, I said, if they do, I'll protect you. And you'll learn how to protect your land too, deal? Lily nodded. Deal. I want to be strong like you, and like Maggie. That night, the Midwest Alliance threw a small party at Grace Farm. Nothing fancy, just old wooden tables, cornbread, grilled meat, and cold beer. Grace stood up, raised her cup. We fought, and we won, for our land, our families, and our future. Cheers to Jack Callahan, who led us through it all. The crowd erupted, and I laughed. Thanks, everyone, but don't forget Maggie and the goats. They had but more bad guys than I did. Ellie shouted, Maggie deserves a medal. Maggie let out another meh at the perfect time, making the crowd howl with laughter. As the night wound down, I sat alone on the porch steps, watching the moonlight fall across the fields. I thought about my father, who left this farm to me, and everything I'd learned through the battles, with Karen, Veronica, and Maxwell. I thought this was the end, that I could finally rest. But life in the Midwest is never quiet for long. As I got up to head inside, I noticed a black envelope under the oak tree near the fence, just like the ones Maxwell used to send. My heart skipped. I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a photo of the Midwest Alliance meeting at Grace Farm. Everyone smiling, standing strong. But one face was circled in red, Jenna Cole, the young mother who'd been with us from the beginning, but always quiet, always watching. Handwritten across the bottom. She knew everything. And she told us. Maxwell was just the beginning. I went cold. Jenna Cole a traitor? Someone inside our alliance had been feeding information to Maxwell, or worse, to something bigger. I looked closer at the envelope. There was a small logo in the corner. A black eagle, wings spread, with the words, Echelon Group. I had never heard of them before, but I knew. Nothing good came from black envelopes and secret empires. I slipped the envelope into my coat and stared out at the fields. Maxwell hadn't acted alone. He was just a pawn in something far bigger. But before I could confront Echelon, I had to deal with the traitor in our midst, Jenna Cole. I whispered into the night. The Midwest isn't safe yet. But as long as I've got this community, these goats, and our spirit, I'll face whatever comes. And that's a wrap for Plan C. Maxwell Ridge is behind bars. The Midwest is safe, and Jack Callahan and the Midwest Alliance came out on top. But the drama doesn't end there. Jack just discovered a spy inside the Alliance, Jenna Cole. Who is she really? Why did she betray them? And what is the Echelon Group, the shadowy force behind Maxwell? Drop a comment below. What do you think Jenna's motive was? Was she blackmailed, or just in it for the money? Don't forget to hit that like button if you love Maggie and her gang of chaos goats, and smash subscribe with the notification bell so you don't miss the next wave of drama. Thanks for watching HOA Karen Files. See you in the next story. Fake HOA cops traitor strikes my Midwest. Chaos goats, and I fight back. HOA Karen Files, EP 4-inch. Hey folks, welcome back to HOA Karen Files. I'm Jack Callahan, and if you thought the drama with Maxwell Ridge and the fake HOA cops ended with Plan C, think again. Today, we step into a whole new chapter of tension. There's a traitor inside the very heart of my Midwest Alliance. Jenna Cole, someone I once trusted, turns out to be a mole, feeding information to Maxwell and a bigger, darker force called the Echelon Group. This time, there are no fake cops or bulldozers. But this internal drama might be the thing that shatters everything we've built. So what will the Chaos Goats, my brother Sheriff Luke, and our entire community do when faced with betrayal from within? Help me stay strong. Hit that like button right now, just like Maggie would headbutt a traitor. Drop a comment with your theory on Jenna's motives, and don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a second of this new twist. Let's dive in. Our victory over Maxwell Ridge and Plan C should have brought peace to the Midwest. But the black envelope I found under the oak tree shattered that hope. Inside was a photo of the Midwest Alliance meeting, with a red circle around Jenna Cole and the handwritten message, asterisk, she knew everything, and she told us. Maxwell was only the beginning. Asterisk, I couldn't sleep. Jenna Cole, a young widowed mother from the south side of the county, raising her 5-year-old son Ben, was one of the first to join the Alliance. Quiet, shy, never drew attention. I never suspected her. Now, I couldn't look at my community the same. If Jenna was a mole, who else might be? The next morning, I called Luke, Grace, Sarah, and Ellie to my house. I laid the envelope on the kitchen table and said grimly, "We have a problem. Jenna Cole, she's the leak. She fed information to Maxwell, maybe even to something bigger. A group called Echelon." Grace slammed her hand on the table. Jenna? That little thing? I gave her cornbread at the very first meeting. She fed off our table. And now this. Sarah shook her head, eyes misty. Jack, I don't believe it. Jenna always said she wanted to protect her land for Ben. Why would she? Ellie, in her signature backwards cap, scowled. I don't like this. If Jenna worked for Maxwell, she knew everything we planned. Luke, calm but firm, nodded. I'll run a background check. But we need to tread carefully. If Echelon is behind this, they might be more dangerous than Maxwell ever was. I agreed. I want to talk to Jenna first. If she was forced into it, maybe we can help. If not, we protect the Alliance. Grace cocked her shotgun. If she sold us out for cash, I'll show her what betrayal earns. I raised my hand. Easy, Grace. We need facts, and we need to know what Echelon Group even is. I turned to Ellie. You're coming with me to Jenna's. Luke, check her records. Look for anything unusual. Sarah, talk to the others quietly. We don't want panic. Ellie and I drove 10 miles south to Jenna's place. Her farm was small, an old wooden house, a chicken coop, and a modest cornfield. When we pulled up, Jenna was feeding the chickens. Ben was kicking around a worn-out soccer ball nearby. She saw us and gave a weak smile. Jack, Ellie, what brings you here? Is there news? I stepped forward, voice cold. Jenna, we need to talk. About Maxwell, and about your role in this. She froze, hand trembling, dropping the feed bucket. Jack, I don't know what you mean. I held up the envelope. Don't play dumb. I have proof. You've been feeding him information. I just want to know why. Jenna backed up, eyes glassy with tears. Jack, you don't understand. I didn't have a choice. They threatened Ben. They said if I didn't do what they asked, they'd hurt my son. Ben, hearing her cry, ran over and hugged her leg. Mommy, don't cry. My chest tightened. If she was telling the truth, Jenna wasn't greedy. She was scared. Used. But I couldn't take it at face value, not after what we'd been through. Jenna, if that's true, we'll help you. But you need to tell us everything. Who threatened you? And what is the Echelon Group? She shook her head. I don't know who they are. They just told me to send updates. If I didn't, they said Ben would disappear. She held him tight, sobbing. Ellie whispered beside me. Jack, I think she's telling the truth. But we still need evidence. Who contacted her? And how? I nodded. Jenna, we'll be back. But you can't tell anyone we were here, understood? And if they reach out to you again, you tell me. Jenna nodded, eyes red. I swear, Jack. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to protect my son. I turned away, torn, wanting to believe her, but knowing I couldn't risk the entire alliance. On the drive back, Luke called. Jack, I checked Jenna's file. Nothing jumps out. But I found something odd. A $10,000 deposit into her account a week before Maxwell's arrest. Came from a shell company named Echelon Holdings. I've asked the FBI to trace it, but Jack, if she was coerced, she's likely still under watch. I clenched the steering wheel. Good. Assign someone to watch her discreetly. If Echelon makes contact again, we need to know. I'm calling Cody. I rang up Cody right after. Still rocking his neon blue hair and clutching a Red Bull, he answered via Zoom. Jack, Echelon Group? Yeah, I've heard of them. Global firm, specializes in real estate acquisition and political lobbying. But they're ghosts, nothing public. I'll dig into Echelon Holdings. Give me 48 hours. But Jack, if Jenna was compromised, others might be too. Watch your back. I nodded. Thanks, Cody. Move fast. Back at home, I watched Lily laugh as she played with Daisy in the yard. She giggled as Daisy nuzzled her hand. But I couldn't smile. Not when I knew something bigger than Maxwell was watching us. And someone we trusted had already cracked. I whispered, Maggie, you ready? This drama's far from over. Maggie let out a low meh, horns catching the last rays of sunlight. I knew what I had to do. Uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. For the Midwest. For Lily. For all of us. After speaking with Jenna Cole, I couldn't shake the image of her clinging to little Ben, tears streaking her face. If she was telling the truth, that she had been coerced to protect her son, then part of me couldn't blame her. But I also couldn't afford to risk the entire Midwest. Jenna knew everything, from Ellie's tripwire traps to our private meetings at Grace Farm. If she had already leaked our plans to Maxwell, and now to the Echelon Group, we were operating at a disadvantage. I needed proof. And I needed to know who the Echelon Group really was, before things spiraled out of control. The next morning, I gathered the team at Grace Farm. Not the whole alliance, just the people I trusted most. Luke, Grace, Sarah, Ellie, and Dawn. I didn't want the rumors about Jenna to spread. Not yet. I laid the black envelope on the table and said, Everyone, Jenna claims she was forced, threatened because of her son, Ben. But we can't just take her word for it. Luke, what do you have? Luke nodded, voice low and steady. I've got an officer from Dayton, Tara, keeping eyes on Jenna's place around the clock. Last night, at 2 a.m., a black SUV without plates pulled up near her farm. A man in black got out, dropped something by her door, and left. Tara retrieved it. It was a black envelope. Inside, $5,000 cash and a note that said, Stay silent, or the boy pays. Grace slammed her palm on the table. Sick bastards. Threatening a child to manipulate his mother. Sarah wiped her eyes. If this is real, we have to help her. She's part of the alliance. She's family. Ellie chimed in. I agree, but we still need to be careful. If she's scared, she could still be feeding them updates, whether she wants to or not. Don, holding his laptop, added. I looked into Echelon Holdings, the company that sent Jenna the $10,000. It's a shell company, registered in Delaware. No public info. Our best bet is still Cody. I nodded. I've already called Cody. He's working on hacking their system. But we can't wait. Luke, keep Tara watching Jenna. If they make contact again, we catch them in the act. Ellie, you and I are going to her farm. We'll plant hidden cameras around her property. We need eyes on the place. Grace, Sarah, keep the alliance steady. Let folks know we're investigating a new threat, but don't mention Jenna. Grace raised her shotgun. Got it, Jack. But if Echelon shows up here, Maggie and I will introduce them to some real Midwest hospitality. At the sound of her name, Maggie bleated once. Asterisk, meh, asterisk, lightening the mood just a bit. Ellie and I drove to Jenna's around noon. carrying 3 small surveillance cameras Luke had pulled from the station. We parked 200 meters away and snuck through the cornfield to stay out of sight. Jenna was inside, and Ben was outside kicking around that same beat-up ball. I whispered, "Ellie, place one by the east fence and another near the chicken coop. I'll handle the front. Oak tree near the door." Ellie nodded. "Got it. But if Jenna sees us, she'll panic." "I know. That's why we move fast." We worked quickly. I got the oak-mounted camera positioned with a view of the front porch. Ellie had just finished hers when we heard Ben scream, "Mom, there's a man." I whipped around. There, at the west fence, was a man in black, sunglasses on, standing barely 10 meters from Ben. He wasn't Blackthorn, no logos, no earpiece, but I knew he wasn't here by accident. Jenna bolted from the house, clutching Ben. "Who are you? Get off my land." The man smirked. "Jenna, you know who I am. You missed your last report. My boss isn't happy. This is a warning. Next time, the boy won't be here for you to hold." He dropped an envelope and walked off toward a black SUV, then sped away. Ellie and I crouched in the corn, hearts racing. "Jack," Ellie whispered, "did the camera catch that?" I nodded. "Yeah, the oak cam definitely did. But we can't leave her alone anymore. They're escalating." I stepped out from the field. "Jenna." She jumped, holding Ben close. "Jack? What are you doing here?" "I saw everything, Jenna. We know you're being forced. But we need the truth. Who was that man? What do they want from you?" Jenna sobbed. "I don't know his name. They call every week. They tell me to report on the alliance, who's involved, where we meet, what we plan. If I don't, they say they'll take Ben. I don't want to do this, Jack. I swear I don't." I crouched down beside Ben, who clung tightly to his mother. "Jenna, we'll protect you. But you have to help us. Do you have a number they've used? Anything we can trace?" Jenna nodded, trembling. "Yes. One number. They always call from it. I'll write it down." She went inside and came back with a slip of paper. "Here. But please, be careful. They're dangerous." I took it and said, "We're leaving the cameras. If they come back, we'll know. Stay calm. Act normal. If anything feels off, call me." Immediately. On the way back, I called Cody. "Cody, I've got a number, burner phone probably. Can you trace it?" The sound of furious typing came through. "I can try through the carrier, but no promises if it's single use. Also, update. I hacked Echelon Holdings. Got an internal email. Echelon Group is a global corp. They buy farmland and flip it into industrial zones. Maxwell was just a pawn." The email said, "Plan C failed, but the Midwest is still a target. Apply pressure. Use internal assets if needed. Jack, they're not done with you." I clenched my jaw. "Good work, Cody. Dig deeper. I want to know who's running this thing." Back at Grace Farm, Sarah ran up, looking pale. "Jack, we've got a problem. Some of the alliance, Hank Miller, Mrs. Delaney, they heard rumors about Jenna. They say if she's a mole, they don't want to stay involved. They're scared." Grace jumped in. I tried to calm them down, but they wouldn't listen. "Jack, if the alliance falls apart, we can't fight Echelon." I slammed my palm on the table. "Damn it. We can't fall apart now. Not after everything we've been through." I turned to Ellie. "Come on, we're going to talk to Hank and Delaney. We'll set the record straight. Luke, check the cameras. If they show up again, we strike." I knew. If we didn't hold this alliance together, Echelon would win. Not with fake cops or bulldozers, but with fear and division. But I wasn't going to let that happen. Not while I had goats. Not while I had Luke. And not while the Midwest still had a fight left in it. After the rumors about Jenna Cole spread, I knew the Midwest Alliance was standing on the edge of collapse. Hank Miller and Mrs. Delaney, two of our most respected members, had publicly said they didn't want to be part of any group that harbored a traitor. I couldn't blame them. After everything we'd endured with Karen, Veronica, and Maxwell, suspicion was second nature. But I also couldn't let Echelon Group win by tearing us apart from within. So Ellie and I drove straight to Hank's farm that morning, determined to convince him to stay. He was working on a fence line, jaw clenched, eyes avoiding mine. "Jack," he grunted. I said what I said. "I'm not working with a turncoat." Jenna knew everything, every trap, every meeting. And she sold us out to Maxwell. What's to say she's the only one? I stepped closer, voice steady. "Hank, she didn't sell us out for money. She was forced. They threatened her son, Ben. She was scared. Echelon Group is using fear and mistrust to tear us apart. If we fall apart now, They'll take us one by one, starting with you. He paused, eyeing me. You got proof, Jack? Or are you just trusting her word? Ellie jumped in. We do have proof, surveillance. They came to her house and threatened her again. She didn't want any of this, Hank. She was trapped. He shook his head. I don't care. I'd rather stand alone than risk another betrayal. Mrs. Delaney had just arrived, broom in hand like always. What about you, ma'am? I asked. You leaving us too? She tightened her grip on the broom. I like you, Jack, but I don't trust Jenna. If she's involved with Echelon, I don't want to be involved with any of this. My jaw tightened. This is exactly what Echelon wants. They don't need fake cops or bulldozers anymore. All they need is for us to turn on each other. They looked at each other, unsure. I hadn't won them over, but I didn't have time to plead further because that's when Luke called. Jack, he shouted. Get to Jenna's now. Camera caught something big. Ellie and I jumped in the truck and sped to Jenna's farm. When we arrived, Luke and Tara, the officer from Dayton, were watching footage from the oak-mounted surveillance cam. Luke pointed at the screen. Look, 8 a.m. Jenna gets a video call from a man calling himself Mr. Harrow. British accent. Black suit. Orders her to hand over the full list of Alliance members, or her son disappears. Permanently. On screen, Jenna sobbed. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to hurt anyone. Harrow smirked coldly. You have no choice, Jenna. Do it, or I'll come for the boy myself. Chills ran down my spine. Echelon wasn't bluffing. They were escalating. But what happened next caught us all off guard. Jenna ended the call. She hugged Ben tightly, whispering, I'm sorry, baby. I can't keep doing this. Then she called me. Her voice was shaky. Jack, I can't do this anymore. They want the names of the Alliance, but I won't give them. I'm leaving. I need to get Ben somewhere safe. You have to protect the others. I turned to Luke. If she runs, Echelon will just target someone else. We'll lose our only chance to learn more. But if she stays, she and Ben are in danger. Ellie spoke up. Then we use her. Make her a double agent. Feed Echelon false info. Get them to make a mistake. I nodded. It was risky, but our best option. I called Jenna back. Jenna, you can't run. If you leave, they'll just move on to someone else. We'll protect Ben, I promise. But you have to help us. Pretend to follow their orders. Feed them fake data. Lure them out. Can you do that? She was silent for a moment. Then, I'm scared, but I'll do it. For the Alliance. For Ben. I exhaled. Good. We'll move Ben to Luke's house. Tara will guard him. You stay put. Act normal. But before we could roll out the plan, I got another call, this time from Sarah. Her voice was panicked. Jack, someone came to my house. They didn't break anything, but they left a black envelope on my door. It said, Asterisk, your Alliance will crumble, one by one. Asterisk, they know where I live. Ellie and I raced to Sarah's farm. She was shaking, envelope in hand. I opened it. Inside was a USB stick. We plugged it into Dawn's laptop. The screen lit up with grainy footage, secret recordings of our meetings. Grace raising her shotgun. Dawn discussing the class action lawsuit. And then audio. Mr. Harrow's voice again, smooth and venomous. The Midwest is just the beginning. Echelon will take every farming region in America. Divide them. Make them doubt one another. And they'll collapse from within. I looked at Sarah. They want us to tear ourselves apart. They know if we stand together, we win. Sarah nodded slowly, but her voice trembled. Jack, if Jenna filmed all this before Maxwell was caught, how can we trust anything she says now? I knew we couldn't keep dodging the truth. I needed to take control, fast. That night, I called an emergency meeting of the full Midwest Alliance at Grace Farm. Everyone came, some anxious, some angry. I stood on a wooden crate and faced the crowd. I know rumors about Jenna have spread, and I know they've made us question each other. But listen, she was forced. They threatened her son. She didn't want this. The Echelon Group, the real enemy here, is manipulating us with fear. They don't need to break our fences. They want to break us. But they only win if we let them. Hank stood up. Jack, that's a good speech. But why should we trust her? Why should we trust you? I looked him in the eyes. You don't have to trust Jenna. You just need to trust us. We beat Karen. We beat Veronica. We beat Maxwell. And we'll beat Echelon too, but only if we stick together. There was silence. Then Hank gave a slow nod. I'll stay, but if anything goes wrong, you answer for it. Mrs. Delaney followed, broom in hand. Fine. I'm in too. But that girl better not mess up again. The crowd erupted into applause, uneasy, but real. We weren't whole, but we weren't broken either. Later that night, I sat on my porch, watching Maggie and the goats wander the yard. I whispered, "Maggie, you ready for another war?" This time, the enemy's already inside. Maggie gave a soft, knowing meh, her horns gleaming in the moonlight. With Jenna now a double agent, we had a chance to strike back. But Echelon wasn't done yet, and their plan was bigger than anything we'd ever imagined. With Jenna Cole agreeing to become a double agent, we knew we were entering dangerous territory. She would pretend to comply with the Echelon group, feeding them false intel that Luke and I crafted to flush out Mr. Harrow and his goons. Meanwhile, I had to keep the Midwest Alliance together. No small task, considering suspicions still lingered after the incident at Sarah's house. Echelon didn't just want our land. They wanted all of America's farmland, and the Midwest was just the first piece of the puzzle. I started by preparing the false intel. Luke and I sat at my kitchen table, piecing together a fake list of Alliance members, completely made-up names, fake meeting spots, and a bogus class action strategy that Don helped us draft. I handed the file to Jenna over a video call. "Jenna, you're going to send this to Harrow. Tell him this is the latest from the Alliance. But you've got to sell it. If they sense anything off, they'll know you're lying." Jenna nodded, voice trembling. "Jack, I'll try. But if they find out Ben..." I cut her off gently. "Ben's at Luke's place. Tara and 2 Dayton officers are guarding him around the clock. You just stick to the plan. We'll handle the rest." While Jenna prepped to contact Harrow, I called Cody to check in. "Cody, got anything new on Echelon?" Cody, blue hair as wild as ever, sipped from a Red Bull while typing like a man possessed. "Jack, I just hacked another email out of Echelon Holdings. Harrow, the brick guy, is the U.S. regional manager. He reports directly to someone named Madam V. I don't know who she is yet, but listen to this. The email says, increase pressure on Midwest. If the asset fails, proceed to phase 2, direct sabotage. Jack, they're getting ready to hit you hard." I nodded grimly. "Thanks, Cody. We'll be ready." I turned to Luke. "If they're about to switch to direct action, we need to bolster defenses. Get more officers from Dayton, set up patrols around Sarah's, Hank's, and Grace's farms. I'll have Ellie lay more tripwire traps around the goat pen. If they come, Maggie's got a headbutt with their name on it." Luke smirked. "Copy that. But Jack, if Harrow finds out Jenna's duping him, they'll come for her. Fast." "I know," I said, "which is why we strike first." That night, Jenna sent the bait, an email to Harrow with the fabricated list and meeting plans. Through a hidden surveillance feed, Luke and I watched her type. "Here is the latest list of Alliance members and their upcoming litigation strategy. They plan to meet at Hank Miller's barn this Friday, 8 p.m. Harrow replied almost instantly. "Well done, Jenna. You've just bought the boy some time. Don't disappoint me again." He'd taken the bait. "Luke," I said, "we're staging an ambush at Hank's barn. If Harrow or his crew shows up, we end this." Luke nodded. "Mike and Carlos are on standby. We'll be ready." Friday night, we were in position. The barn was dark, silent. I crouched behind some crates with Ellie, while Luke and the officers, Tara, Mike, and Carlos, took up positions at the rear and loft. Ellie whispered, "You really think they'll show?" "They will," I said. "Harrow thinks he's got the upper hand, but he doesn't know we've been waiting." At 8:15 p.m. sharp, 2 black SUVs rolled in and stopped in front of the barn. 3 men in black stepped out. No Blackthorn uniforms this time, but black jackets bearing a small eagle insignia. The leader, tall, British accent, I knew it was Harrow. "Check the barn," Harrow ordered. "If Callahan and his alliance are here, capture them. If not, burn it. Leave a message." Luke gave the signal. Now, we burst out. "Police, drop your weapons." Harrow reached for his gun, but Ellie beat him to the punch, literally. She hurled a can of old paint from the loft, smacking one of his men in the head. He dropped. I charged Harrow and slammed my fist into his jaw. He stumbled back. Luke and Tara wrestled the other 2 to the ground, cuffing them, while Mike and Carlos kept their weapons trained. Harrow spat blood, sneering. "You think you've won, Callahan? Echelon is bigger than you know. Madam V won't stop." I growled. "You talk too much. Tell Madam V that the Midwest doesn't fold easy." Then Harrow's phone rang, a video call. Luke picked it up and turned the screen toward me. A woman's face, shrouded in shadow, filled the frame. Her voice was cold, commanding. Harrow, you failed. Stand down. Then she turned her attention to me. Callahan. So we meet, sort of. I am Madam V. You can take Harrow, but you can't stop Echelon. This is only the beginning. The call ended with a soft, eerie laugh that sent a chill down my spine. I turned to Luke. Luke, who is Madam V? And what is Echelon planning? Luke shook his head. I don't know, Jack, but they're not going to stop. While Luke took Harrow and the other two guys back to the station, I returned to Jenna's house to deliver the news. Jenna hugged me, crying, Jack, thank you. I don't have to be afraid anymore. I nodded. Jenna, you did well. You've redeemed yourself. But Echelon hasn't stopped. We need you, and the whole alliance, to keep fighting. Jenna nodded. I will, Jack. For Ben, and for the Midwest. I returned to Grace Farm, looking at Maggie and the goats. I muttered, Maggie, did you hear Madam V? This battle isn't over yet. Maggie bleated, as if ready. After capturing Harrow and two of Echelon Group's henchmen, it felt like we had won a major battle, but I knew it was only temporary. Madam V, the head of Echelon's U.S. operations, had made it clear, this is only the beginning. Harrow might be behind bars, but Echelon wasn't finished. Not when their plan was to take over all of America's farmland, starting with the Midwest. I brought Jenna and Ben to Luke's house, where Tara and two Dayton officers were still standing guard. Jenna hugged me, tears rolling down her cheeks. Jack, thank you. I didn't think I could do it. I ruffled Ben's hair. Jenna, you made things right. You're part of the alliance now. But Echelon hasn't stopped. We need you, and the whole community, to keep fighting. I returned to Grace Farm, where the entire Midwest Alliance had gathered to celebrate. Grace raised a beer. Jack Callahan, you did good. Harrow's been taken down. Jenna redeemed herself. We showed Echelon that the Midwest doesn't go down easy. The crowd cheered, and Sarah hugged me. Jack, you kept us together. Thank you. Ellie, with her backwards baseball cap, grinned. Told you, nobody outsmarts us. Especially with Maggie around. Maggie, as if understanding, let out a loud meh, and the crowd burst into laughter. Even Hank Miller and Mrs. Delaney were there, still a little skeptical, but they stayed. That was what mattered. But the celebration didn't last. The next morning, while I was feeding the goats, Grace called, panicked. Jack, get over here now. My farm, they hit it. I jumped in the truck and sped to her place. The scene stunned me. Her chicken coop had been torched, fences were cut, and a black envelope had been taped to her front door. Grace, gripping her shotgun, growled. Jack, they came at 5 a.m., 3 men in black. Not Blackthorn, but they had that Echelon Eagle logo. They left this. I opened the envelope. Inside was a photo, me and Lily playing in the yard. Scrawled across the bottom. Callahan, you took Harrow, but you can't stop Echelon. This time it was the chicken coop. Next time, it's your family. My heart pounded, not with fear, but rage. Echelon was retaliating, and they were targeting everything I loved. I turned to Grace. We need to increase security. Not just for your farm, for the entire region. I'll call Luke, get more patrols assigned. Grace nodded. Understood, Jack. But if they come back, Maggie and I will make them regret it. Maggie bleated, horns catching the sunlight, like she was ready for war. I called Luke immediately. Luke, Echelon just hit Grace's farm. They left a threat aimed at me and Lily. We need more officers, and we need to find Madam V. Luke replied, Jack, I'll bring in more from Columbus PD, but you need to be careful. If Madam V's involved, they won't stop. I know, I said. I'm taking Lily to my uncle's in Dayton. It's safe there. But Luke, we have to find a way to bring Echelon down, before they bring us down. As I was about to leave Grace Farm, my phone rang. A strange number. I picked up. A deep, mysterious male voice came through. Jack Callahan, I know about Echelon and Madam V. I used to work for them, but I walked away. Meet me in Columbus. Blue Jay Cafe. Wednesday, 3 p.m. If you want the truth. I narrowed my eyes. Who are you? Why should I trust you? He chuckled. Call me a secret informant. Whether you trust me is up to you, but I know what Echelon's planning. And you can't stop them alone. He hung up before I could ask anything else. I looked down at the black envelope in my hand, thinking of Lily, the community, and the voice of the so-called informant. I knew the fight with Echelon wasn't over, and maybe, just maybe, I need help from someone I'd never even met. I muttered, Maggie, what do you think? Should we trust this guy? Maggie let out a strong meh, like she was in. I smiled. The Midwest had taught me one thing. As long as you've got your community, your goats, and your grit, you can face anything. And that wraps up episode 4 of HOA Karen Files. Harrow is behind bars. Jenna redeemed herself, and the Midwest Alliance stands united once again. But the Echelon Group isn't backing down. They've already struck back, threatening Jack and Lily. And now, a mysterious informant has appeared, promising to reveal the truth about Madam V. Should Jack trust him? What's Echelon's next move? Leave a comment and tell me. Who do you think this secret informant really is? An ally or a trap? Don't forget to hit like if you love Maggie and the goats, and subscribe with the notification bell on so you don't miss what happens next. Thanks for tuning in to HOA Karen Files. See you in the next drama. Fake HOA cops Viper strikes. Chaos goats face a deadly stranger. HOA Karen Files EP 5-inch. Hey y'all, welcome back to HOA Karen Files. I'm Jack Callahan. And if you thought the drama with Echelon Group was over after we nabbed Harrow in episode 4, well, you're dead wrong. Today, we're diving into a whole new chapter of mystery. A mysterious stranger called me up, claiming he knows all about Echelon and Madam V, the mastermind behind every scheme targeting the Midwest. He wants to meet me in Columbus, but I've got no clue if this guy's a friend or a trap. With my Chaos Goats, my Sheriff Big Brother Luke, and the whole Midwest Alliance by my side, I'm ready to face whatever comes my way. But this time, the enemy might be more dangerous than ever. Help me keep my spirits up by smashing that like button right now. It's like Maggie head-butting Echelon right in the gut. Drop a comment below, take a wild guess who this mysterious stranger might be, and don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a single second of this drama. Let's dive in. After that call from the mysterious stranger, I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling in my gut. He said he knew about Echelon Group and Madam V, the one pulling the strings behind every plot against the Midwest, from Maxwell Ridge to Harrow. He told me to meet him in Columbus at the Blue Jay Cafe, Wednesday at 3 p.m. sharp. But I didn't know a darn thing about this guy. He could be an ally, or he could be a trap set by Echelon to lure me away from the Midwest. After everything we've been through, Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, and Jenna Cole, I couldn't take any chances, but I also couldn't pass up the chance to get the truth. I called Luke first thing the next morning, filling him in on the call. Luke, some guy calling himself a mysterious stranger says he knows about Echelon and Madam V. He wants to meet me in Columbus, but I don't know if I should trust him. Luke, his voice low and serious, shot back. Jack, I don't like the sound of this. Echelon just hit Grace's farm, and now you're running off to meet some random dude? If this is a trap, you're walking right into danger. I nodded. I know, but if he's telling the truth, this could be our shot to take down Echelon before they take us down. I need you to come with me. If anything smells fishy, we'll handle it. Luke sighed. All right, Jack, but we're playing this careful. I'm bringing my gun, and I'll get Tara from the Dayton precinct to tag along. I turned to Lily, who was playing with Daisy out in the yard. Lily, I've got to head to Columbus for a couple of days. You stay with your mom, okay? I'll be back soon. Lily hugged me tight. Uncle Jack, you be careful, okay? Me and Daisy will be waiting for you. I ruffled her hair, smiling, but my heart felt heavy. That photo Echelon sent, the one of me and Lily, still haunted me. I couldn't let them get anywhere near her. I turned to Maggie. Maggie, you're in charge of guarding the farm. If Echelon shows up, you know what to do. Maggie let out a loud baa, her curved horns glinting, like she was ready for action. Me, Luke, and Tara hit the road to Columbus that Wednesday morning, a 120-mile drive from the Midwest. The Blue Jay Cafe was tucked away on a quiet street corner, with big glass windows and a few wooden tables outside. We got there early, 2:30 p.m., to scope the place out. Luke and Tara sat at a table near the door, pretending to read the paper, while I took a corner booth facing the entrance. I ordered a black coffee but didn't touch it. I was too on edge to swallow anything. Right at 3 p.m., a man walked in, about 40 years old, short brown hair, wearing a black leather jacket and shades. He scanned the room, then walked straight to my table and sat down. Jack Callahan? I'm the one who called you, but you can call me Ethan. I raised an eyebrow. Ethan, huh? You say you know about Echelon and Madame V. Prove it, or I'm walking out that door right now. Ethan gave a faint smirk, taking off his shades to reveal sharp blue eyes. I used to work for Echelon. I was one of their coordinators, until I saw what they were willing to do to get what they wanted. I bailed 6 months ago, but I've still got intel, and I know they're targeting the Midwest. I nodded. All right, I'm listening. But if you're lying, me and my brother, the cop sitting over there, won't let you off easy. Ethan glanced at Luke and Tara, then nodded. Fair enough. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to help. Ethan pulled a USB drive from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. This is the data I grabbed before I left Echelon. Emails, plans, and a list of their targets. The Midwest is their first stop, but they're after the whole U.S. AG belt, from Ohio to Nebraska. Madame V runs Echelon's U.S. operations, but she reports to a council in Europe. They don't just want land. They want to control the food supply, force farmers to sell cheap, then build industrial parks and data centers. I felt a chill run down my spine. And Madame V? Who is she? I need to know so I can stop her. Ethan shook his head. I've never met Madame V in person. She always works through video calls or middlemen, like Harrow. But I know she's ruthless. If she's got you in her sights, you don't have much time. I nodded. So why are you helping me? What's in it for you? Ethan looked down at the table, his voice low. I had a farm in Kansas. Echelon took it, forced me to work for them. They threatened my family, just like they did with Jenna Cole. I walked away because I couldn't keep doing it, but I want payback. If you stop Echelon, I might get back what I lost. I looked into Ethan's eyes. I saw honesty, but also fear. I nodded. All right, Ethan. I'll check out this data, but if you're lying, you'll regret it. Ethan nodded back. I get it, Jack. But you need to move fast. Echelon won't wait long. I left the cafe with Luke and Tara, the USB in my hand. On the drive back, I called Cody. Cody, I've got a USB from a guy named Ethan. He says he used to work for Echelon. Can you check it out? Cody, never without his Red Bull, replied. Jack, send it over. I'll dig into it right away. But if this guy's legit, we might have a big advantage. I nodded. I hope so, Cody. Because if not, we just walked into a trap. Back at the Midwest, I looked at Maggie and the goats out in the yard. I muttered, Maggie, what do you think of Ethan? Friend or foe? Maggie let out a bah, like she wasn't sure. I wasn't sure either, but I knew, to protect the Midwest, I had to find out the truth, no matter how dangerous it got. After meeting Ethan in Columbus, I got back to the Midwest with the USB in my pocket, but my mind was a mess. Ethan claimed he used to work for Echelon Group, and the data on this USB could help us figure out their plans, but I couldn't fully trust him. He might be an ally, or he might be another pawn of Madame V, sent to lure me into a trap. After everything we'd been through, from Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, to Jenna Cole, I couldn't take any risks, but I also couldn't ignore the chance to get the dirt on Echelon. I called the team over to my place that night. Luke, Grace, Sarah, Ellie, and Dawn. I plugged the USB into Dawn's laptop, and we all gathered around the kitchen table, eyes glued to the screen. Luke, still in his cop uniform, frowned. Jack, you sure this USB is safe? If Ethan's working for Echelon, this could be a virus, or worse, a way to track us. Dawn, clutching the laptop, nodded. Luke's got a point. I'll run a scan first. If anything's off, we'll know right away. I nodded. Do it, Dawn. We can't take any chances. Dawn scanned the USB. No viruses, no malware. He opened the data, and a flood of files popped up. Emails, maps, target lists, and internal Echelon Group documents. Grace, holding her coffee mug, leaned in. Jack, look at this. An email from Madame V to Harrow before we nabbed him. It says, the Midwest is the first target. Put pressure on the farmers, divide them, and buy their land cheap. If they resist, move to phase 2, direct sabotage. Damn it. These jerks have been planning this for a while. Sarah, her eyes red, said, Jack, they don't just want our land. They want to control everything. If they pull this off in the Midwest, no one can stop them. I scrolled through more files, a map marking AG regions across the U.S., from Ohio to Nebraska, with notes, priority targets, Midwest, Kansas, Iowa. Projected completion, 2026. A list of Echelon's assets, people like Maxwell Ridge, Harrow, and even Jenna Cole, was there, with notes, use family pressure to control. Ellie, her backward baseball cap on, slammed her hand on the table. I can't believe this. They've got a whole system to manipulate people. Jenna wasn't the only one they forced. There are dozens like her. Luke nodded. Jack, if this data's real, we could use it to sue Echelon, or at least warn other regions. I nodded, but another file made my blood run cold. An email from Madam V to someone named Mr. K, saying, Callahan is the biggest threat. If he doesn't stop, eliminate him. Use any means necessary. I turned to Luke. Luke, they're coming for me, and maybe Lily too. We've got to act fast. Grace raised her shotgun. If they show up here, me and Maggie will give him hell. Maggie, hearing her name, let out a bah, making the group chuckle a bit, but the air was still heavy. I called Cody right after, sending him the data. Cody, I've got data from a guy named Ethan. He says he used to work for Echelon. Can you check it out? We need to know if anything's fishy. Cody, with his green hair and ever-present Red Bull, typed furiously. Jack, this data looks legit. Emails, maps, lists, it all matches what I've dug up on Echelon Holdings. But there's one file that's encrypted. I'll need some time to crack it. And Jack, if Ethan's telling the truth, he could be an ally. But if he's lying, you're being played. I nodded. I know, Cody. Work as fast as you can. We don't have much time. While Cody got to work, I turned to the team. Y'all, this data gives us an edge. We know where Echelon's aiming and how they operate. But we can't fully trust Ethan. He might be an Echelon spy, sent to lead us into a trap. Sarah asked, Jack, if Ethan's legit, he could help us. But if he's lying, how do we know? Luke cut in. I've got an idea. I'll run a background check on Ethan. He said he had a farm in Kansas, right? I'll get the Kansas PD to look into it. If he's lying, we'll find out. I nodded. Good, Luke. In the meantime, we need to get ready. If Echelon knows we've got this data, they'll hit harder. Ellie, set up more tripwire traps around Grace and Sarah's farms. We can't let them sabotage us again. Grace, you and Maggie patrol the area. If you spot anything weird, let me know right away. Grace nodded. Got it, Jack. Maggie and I won't let him get the drop on us. Ellie grinned. I bet Maggie'll headbutt a few Echelon goons before we even get a chance. The group laughed, but I couldn't laugh. Not when I knew Madam V had me in her crosshairs. That night, I sat alone on my porch, watching the moonlight hit the fields. I thought about my dad, who left me this farm and everything I'd learned through 5 battles, with Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, Jenna, and now Echelon. I thought each fight was the last, but life in the Midwest never stays quiet for long. My phone rang. It was Luke. He said, his voice tense. Jack, I checked Ethan's background. He's telling the truth. Ethan Carter, 41 years old, used to own a farm in Kansas. Echelon took his land a year ago, and his family, wife and 2 kids, are living in hiding now. But Jack, there's something weird. Echelon sued Ethan for breach of contract, but the case was dropped, no reason given. I don't know if we can trust him. I nodded. Thanks, Luke. If Ethan's legit, he could be an ally. But if he's still working for Echelon, we're in deep trouble. We've got to be careful. I looked out at the fields, muttering. Maggie, what do you think? Should we trust Ethan? Maggie let out a bah, like she wasn't sure. I wasn't sure either, but I knew, to protect the Midwest, I had to find the truth, no matter how dangerous it got. The data from Ethan's USB gave us a leg up. We knew Echelon Group was targeting the entire US AG belt, starting with the Midwest, and Madam V had ordered them to eliminate me if I didn't back off. But I still couldn't fully trust Ethan Carter. He was honest about his farm in Kansas and being forced by Echelon, but that dropped lawsuit made me suspicious. He could be an ally, or just another Echelon pawn sent to lure me into a trap. I didn't have time to second guess, not when Echelon was gearing up for Phase 2, direct sabotage. The next morning, I was checking the tripwires around Grace's farm when Cody called, his voice urgent. Jack, I just cracked the encrypted file on Ethan's USB, and you're not going to like this. It's a detailed Echelon plan called Operation Harvest Fall. They're planning to sabotage the Midwest harvest, specifically corn and wheat, by hiring goons to spray toxic chemicals on the fields. If the harvest fails, farmers will go bankrupt, and Echelon will swoop in to buy the land dirt cheap. Jack, they've already started. The last email says, send the sabotage team to Ohio, starting with Callahan's County, April 10th. I froze. It was April 9th. I called the team together right away. Luke, Grace, Sarah, Ellie, and Don gathered at my place. I said, my voice low, y'all, Echelon's planning to sabotage the harvest. They're going to spray toxic chemicals on our corn and wheat, starting tomorrow. If we don't stop them, the whole region will go under, and Echelon will win. Grace slammed her fist on the table. Those bastards. If they touch my fields, I'll make 'em eat lead. Ellie jumped in. Jack, we've got to act now. We can patrol the fields, set traps, and catch 'em red-handed. Luke nodded. I'll call in more guys from the Dayton precinct. We need to lock down the area, make sure they can't get in. Sarah, her voice shaky. Jack, if they ruin the harvest, we don't just lose our land. We lose everything. I don't know what we can do. I put a hand on her shoulder. Sarah, we've taken down Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, and Harrow. We can take down Echelon. But we've got to stick together, and we've got to move fast. Don said, Jack, I can reach out to other farmers in the neighboring counties. If we warn them, they can help patrol. I nodded. Good, Don. Do it. We need all the help we can get. We split up to patrol the fields. Luke and Tara took the north, Grace and Ellie the south, Sarah and Don the east, and me and Maggie covered the west, near my farm. That night, it was pitch black, no moon, just my flashlight cutting through the cornfields. Maggie walked beside me, her curved horns glinting, like she could sense the danger. Suddenly, I heard an engine, a small truck, no lights, rolling into Hank Miller's field, about 200 yards away. I whispered, Maggie, you ready? Maggie let out a bah, like she was saying yes. I radioed Luke. Luke, I've got a truck in Hank's field. No lights, looks real suspicious. Get over here now. Luke replied, Got it. Jack, we're on our way. Me and Maggie crept through the field, hiding behind cornstalks, watching. 3 guys in black stepped out of the truck, carrying big spray tanks. I knew right away those were the toxic chemicals Cody mentioned. One of them said, Hurry up, spray this field, then move to the next one. Madam V wants results by dawn. I clenched my jaw. I couldn't let them ruin the harvest. I jumped out, yelling, Stop right there. I know what you're doing. Drop those tanks. The 3 guys froze, turning to me. The leader, a tall guy, smirked. Callahan, you're quick, but you can't stop us. He pulled a gun, but before he could fire, Maggie charged, ramming straight into his legs, sending him crashing to the ground. I lunged forward, punching the second guy in the face, making him drop his tank. The third guy tried to run, but Luke and Tara showed up just in time, cutting him off. Luke shouted, Police! Drop your weapon. Tara cuffed the third guy while me and Luke pinned down the other 2. But right then, the leader's phone rang, a video call. Luke picked it up, and Madam V's cold voice came through. Callahan, you've ruined my plans again. But you can't protect everyone. Not when I know you're working with Ethan Carter. The screen went black, but before it cut off, Madam V said, Ethan, if you're listening, you know the price of betrayal. Note, this is the spot for a 3 to 5 second pause. Black screen, no sound, then resume. I turned to Luke. Luke, Madam V knows about Ethan. She knows he's helping us. If Ethan's legit, he's in danger. Luke nodded. Jack, we've got to find Ethan. If he's an ally, we can't let Echelon get him. But if he's a spy, we need the truth. I nodded, agreed. Let's interrogate these goons, see what they know about Ethan and Madam V. I turned to Maggie. Maggie, you did awesome. You just saved Hank's field. Maggie let out a bah, like she was proud. But I knew, with Madam V aware of Ethan, this drama just got a whole lot more dangerous. After catching those 3 Echelon goons in Hank Miller's field, I knew we'd just stopped a disaster, but the drama wasn't over. Madam V had shown her face through that video call, and she knew Ethan Carter was helping us. If Ethan was really an ally, he was in danger. If he was a spy, we needed the truth before it was too late. I didn't have time to waste, not with Echelon ramping up their game and the Midwest harvest still at risk. Luke and Tara took the 3 goons back to the Dayton precinct for questioning, while me, Ellie, and Grace headed back to my farm to plan. I called Cody right away. Cody, Madam V knows about Ethan. She said he'll pay for betraying her. We've got to find Ethan before Echelon does. Can you trace the number he used to call me? Cody, with his green hair and Red Bull in hand, typed like a madman. Jack, that number's a burner, but I can try tracing it through the carrier. I also dug up more on Ethan. He's in Columbus, at a little motel called the Red Oak Inn, about 5 miles from the Blue Jay Cafe. But Jack, if Madam V knows about him, they might already be there. I nodded. Good work, Cody. Send me the address. We're heading to the Red Oak Inn now. Keep digging on Madam V. I need to know who she is. Cody replied, Got it, Jack. But be careful. If Echelon's after Ethan, they won't hold back. I turned to Ellie and Grace. Ellie, you're coming with me to Columbus. We've got to find Ethan. Grace, you stay with Sarah and Dawn. Keep patrolling the fields. If Echelon sends more sabotage teams, we need to be ready. Grace raised her shotgun. Got it, Jack. Maggie and I will hold down the Midwest. Those punks don't stand a chance. Maggie let out a bah, like she agreed. Me and Ellie drove to Columbus that night, pulling up to the Red Oak Inn at 1 a.m. The motel was small and run down, with just 10 rooms and a flickering neon sign. I banged on the front desk door, and an older lady named Martha opened it, rubbing sleepy eyes. What do you two want? It's late, I said fast. Martha, we're looking for Ethan Carter. What room's he in? This is an emergency. Martha frowned. Ethan Carter, he's in room 6. But 2 guys in black showed up 30 minutes ago. They asked about him, then went straight to his room. I heard a big commotion. I think he's in trouble. Me and Ellie bolted to room 6, my heart pounding. The door was busted open, and inside was a mess. Furniture flipped, bed torn apart, blood splattered on the floor. Ethan wasn't there, but a note was taped to the wall. Callahan, you're too late. Ethan belongs to Echelon. You're next. Ellie whispered. Jack, they've got Ethan, and if they know we're here, we're in danger too. I nodded. I know. We've got to find Ethan. If he's legit, we can't let Echelon kill him. I called Luke right away. Luke, Echelon just grabbed Ethan. We're at the Red Oak Inn in Columbus. They left a note saying he belongs to them. What did you get from those goons? Luke replied. Jack, we just finished questioning them. One guy spilled that Echelon has a secret warehouse on the outskirts of Columbus, used to deal with traders. He doesn't know the exact address, but he said it's an old warehouse near Route 62, with an eagle logo on the door. Jack, if Ethan's still alive, he might be there, but you've got to be careful. I nodded. Thanks, Luke. We're heading there now. Send backup. Me and Ellie drove to the area near Route 62, looking for a warehouse with an eagle logo. After 20 minutes, we found it, an old, rusty warehouse with a small eagle logo on the door. 2 black SUVs were parked outside, and dim light spilled from the windows. I whispered to Ellie. Ellie, we've got to sneak in. If Ethan's in there, we've got to save him. Ellie nodded. Got it, Jack. But if this is a trap, we need to be ready. We slipped through the fence, hiding behind crates, and made our way to the back door. Inside, I saw Ethan, tied to a chair, his face covered in blood, with 2 guys in black standing guard. A tall guy with a British accent was on the phone. Madam V, we've got Ethan. He told Callahan about Operation Harvest Fall. What do you want us to do? Madam V's voice came through the speaker. Kill him, and send his body to Callahan's farm as a warning. The guy nodded. Understood, ma'am. He pulled a gun, aiming at Ethan's head. I couldn't wait any longer. I charged in, yelling, Stop! I punched the guy with the gun square in the face, sending him sprawling. Ellie threw a wooden crate at the second guy, knocking him off balance. Ethan, still tied up, shouted, Jack, watch out. There's more upstairs. Right then, 3 more guys came rushing down the stairs, guns in hand. I shoved Ethan to the floor, dodging a hail of bullets, while Ellie ducked behind a crate, yelling, Jack, we're outnumbered. I roared. Ellie, hold your ground. Luke's coming. But before Luke could get there, a loud bang echoed. A smoke grenade rolled in from the front door. Thick smoke filled the air, and I heard Madam V's voice through the phone speaker. Callahan, you can't save everyone, and you can't save yourself. When the smoke cleared, Ethan was still alive, but the 3 Echelon goons were gone, leaving behind a note. Next time. Callahan, you won't be so lucky. I cut Ethan's ropes, pulling him up. Ethan, you okay? We got here just in time. Ethan, panting, nodded. Jack, thank you. I thought I was done for. Madam V, she won't stop. She knows you're getting close, and she'll come for you, for your family. I nodded, I know. But we're not stopping, not while the Midwest is still under threat. You've got to help us. Ethan, what do you know about Madam V? Ethan shook his head. I've never met her, but I know she's got a nickname, the Viper. She's ruthless, and she never forgives traitors. Luke and Tara arrived right after, with 2 Dayton cops in tow. Luke looked around. Jack, you guys okay? They got away, but we'll track him down. I nodded. I'm good, Luke. Ethan's alive, but Echelon's stepping up their game. We've got to get ready, because next time, they won't miss. After that intense showdown at the warehouse in Columbus, me and Ellie brought Ethan Carter back to the Midwest, with Luke and Tara escorting us. Ethan was banged up, his face covered in bruises, his arm bleeding, but he was alive, and that meant we still had a chance to learn more about Echelon Group and Madam V, the Viper. But her threat kept echoing in my head. Callahan, you can't save everyone, and you can't save yourself. I knew Echelon wouldn't stop, not after we'd ruined their harvest sabotage plan and snatched Ethan from their clutches. We took Ethan to Luke's place, where Tara and 2 Dayton cops were still keeping watch. Sarah, holding a first aid kit, ran over. Jack, you okay? Ethan, he looks rough. I nodded. I'm fine, Sarah. Ethan's hurt, but he's alive, and he's got info we need. Sarah patched Ethan up while I called Grace and Dawn over for an emergency meeting. Once the whole team was there, I slapped the note Echelon left on the table. Y'all, Echelon almost got Ethan, and Madam V, the Viper, made a direct threat. She said I can't save everyone, but I'll be damned if I let them touch any of us. Ethan, despite the pain, spoke up. Jack, thank you for saving me. I thought I was a goner. Madam V, she's more ruthless than you can imagine. When I worked for Echelon, I heard her order the killing of an entire farmer's family in Iowa, just because they wouldn't sell their land. She won't stop. Not while you're still a threat. Luke frowned. Ethan, what do you know about Echelon's next move? If Madam V's coming for us, we need to be ready. Ethan nodded. I don't know the details, but I heard her mention Phase 3, a direct attack on the Midwest, targeting your alliance. She wants to destroy you, one by one, to make an example for other regions. Grace slammed her fist on the table. If that Viper chick shows up here, me and Maggie will show her what's what. Nobody messes with our Midwest. Maggie, hearing her name, let out a bah, making the group chuckle a bit, but the tension was still thick. Ellie jumped in. Jack, if Echelon's coming at us head-on, we've got to be ready. We need more traps, more patrols, maybe even get help from nearby counties. Dawn nodded. I'm with Ellie. I can reach out to farmers in the next county. If we've got more folks, Echelon won't stand a chance. I nodded. Good. Ellie, you and Grace set up more tripwire traps around the fields. We can't let them sabotage us again. Dawn, you call those other farmers. We need a bigger alliance than ever. Luke, you and Tara step up patrols. If Echelon shows up, we need to catch M in the act. Sarah asked. Jack, what about Ethan? Is he safe? I turned to Ethan. Ethan, you're staying here with Luke and Tara. We'll keep you safe. But you've got to help us. What do you know about Madam V's weaknesses? Ethan thought for a moment, then said, Madam V, she's arrogant. She always thinks she's untouchable, and she loves to handle things herself when it gets personal. If you make her mad enough, she'll come here, and that's your chance to catch her. I nodded. Then we'll make her mad. We'll leak your data to the press, let the whole country know what Echelon's up to. If Madam V wants to stop us, she'll have to come here herself. Luke frowned. Jack, that's a risky plan. If she shows up, she'll bring a whole team of mercenaries. We might not be able to handle M. I grinned. I know, Luke. But we've got the Chaos Goats, and we've got the Midwest spirit. We won't let M win. I called Cody right after. Cody, I need you to send Ethan's data to the press. Everything about Echelon, Operation Harvest Fall, their whole plan. We're going public. If Madam V wants to stop us, she'll have to come here. Cody typed away. Got it, Jack. I'll send it to a buddy at the Ohio Tribune. They'll publish it right away. But you've got to be careful. If Madam V shows up, she won't mess around. I nodded. I know, Cody. Do it as fast as you can. The next morning, the article went live in the Ohio Tribune with the headline, Echelon Group plots to sabotage Midwest farmers. Plan to control U.S. food supply exposed. The article quoted Ethan's USB data, detailing Operation Harvest Fall and Echelon's actions, from forcing Genicol to sabotaging the harvest. The whole country was buzzing, and I knew Madam V wouldn't let it slide. Sure enough, that night, an anonymous email came through. Callahan, you just signed your own death warrant. I'm coming to the Midwest, and I'll finish you. Signed, the Viper. I froze. Madam V was coming, and she was pissed, just like Ethan said. I called the whole Midwest Alliance together at Grace's farm, showing them the email. Y'all, Madam V, the Viper, is coming to the Midwest. She wants to finish us. This is our biggest fight yet, but if we stick together, we can catch her and stop Echelon once and for all. Hank Miller stood up. Jack, I had my doubts about Ethan, but I trust you. We'll fight for the Midwest. The crowd cheered, and I felt the unbreakable spirit of our community. But right then, my phone rang, a number I didn't know. I picked up, and a deep voice came through. Jack Callahan? I'm the insider. I know about Echelon, and I know about the European Council behind Madam V. If you want to stop them, you'll need me. Meet me in London, after you deal with the Viper. Note, this is the spot for a 3 to 5 second pause. Black screen, no sound, then resume. I was stunned. Who are you? Why should I trust you? He laughed. You don't have to trust me, but you'll need me. Good luck with the Viper, Callahan. He hung up. I looked at Maggie and the goats out in the yard, muttering. Maggie, you ready for the biggest fight yet? Madam V's coming. And after that, we might have to go to London. Maggie let out a baa, her curved horns glinting, like she was ready. I knew, with the Alliance by my side, I could face anything, but the battle with Madam V would be the toughest yet. And that's a wrap for Episode 5 of HOA Karen Files. Ethan's been saved, the Midwest Alliance is stronger than ever, and we just threw down the gauntlet to Madam V, the Viper, for a massive showdown in the Midwest. But the drama's far from over. A guy calling himself the Insider just reached out, saying I'll need him in London to take down Echelon's European Council. Will Madam V fall into our trap? And who's this Insider, friend or foe? Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about the upcoming battle. And do you want Maggie to headbutt Madam V? Don't forget to smash that like button if you love the Chaos Goats, and hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching. See y'all in the next drama. Hey y'all, welcome back to HOA Karen Files. I'm Jack Callahan, and if you thought things couldn't get any crazier after we saved Ethan and called out Madam V in Episode 5, well, buckle up. Today, we're heading into the biggest showdown yet. Madam V, aka the Viper, is coming to the Midwest to take me down, and she's bringing a whole team of mercenaries with her. She's pissed after we leaked Echelon's dirty secrets to the press, and now it's all-out war to protect our land, our harvest, and our community. With my Chaos Goats, Sheriff Big Brother Luke, and the Midwest Alliance by my side, we're ready to fight. But there's a mysterious insider who called last time, saying I'll need him in London to stop Echelon for good. Will we take down the Viper, or will Echelon finally win? Smash that like button to give us some luck. It's like Maggie head-butting the Viper right in the face. Drop a comment, tell me how you think this battle's gonna go down, and hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss a second of this drama. Let's get into it. After leaking Ethan's data to the press and getting that threatening email from Madam V. Callahan, you just signed your own death warrant. I'm coming to the Midwest. I knew we were in for the fight of our lives. The Ohio Tribune article had blown the lid off Echelon Group's plans, and the whole country was talking about their scheme to control the U.S. food supply. But I also knew Madam V wasn't the type to let that slide. Ethan had warned me she was arrogant and loved to handle things herself when it got personal, and we just made it real personal. If she was coming to the Midwest, we had to be ready. I called the whole Midwest Alliance together at Grace's farm the next morning. The barn was packed, over 50 farmers from our county and the ones nearby, all ready to stand with us. I stood on a hay bale, holding the printed email from Madam V. Y'all, Madam V, the Viper, is on her way here to finish us. She's bringing a team of mercenaries, and she won't stop until she's got our land or we're 6 feet under. But we've beaten Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, Harrow, and every goon echelon's thrown at us. We can beat her too. We just need to stick together and fight smart." The crowd roared, and I felt the Midwest spirit stronger than ever. Luke stepped up. "Jack's right. We're up against a real threat. I've called in every deputy from Dayton, and we've got roadblocks set up on the main highways into town. If Madam V's coming, we'll know." Grace, her shotgun slung over her shoulder, grinned. "And I've got Maggie and the Chaos Goats ready to cause some serious trouble for those mercenaries. They won't know what hit him." Ellie, in her backward baseball cap, added, "We've doubled the tripwire traps around the fields, and I've got a few surprises of my own. Let's just say Echelon's gonna have a bad day." Sarah, holding a stack of maps, said, "I've marked all the key spots we need to defend, the main fields, the barns, and the roads in. We can't let them get close to the harvest." Ethan, still bandaged up but standing tall, spoke up. "Jack, I've dealt with Madam V's type before. She'll try to hit us hard and fast, probably at night, to catch us off guard. But her arrogance is her weakness. If you can get her to show herself, you can take her down." I nodded. "That's the plan, Ethan. We'll draw her out, make her think she's got us on the ropes, then hit her with everything we've got." Don chimed in. "I've got 20 more farmers from the next county coming in. They'll be here by tonight with their trucks and gear. We're not just defending our land, we're defending the whole Midwest." I spent the day with the team, setting up our defenses. We turned Grace's biggest field into our main battleground, wide open, with plenty of cover from hay bales and old tractors, but surrounded by tripwires to slow down any intruders. Luke and his deputies set up a command post in the barn, with radios to coordinate our movements. Ellie and Grace rigged up some homemade noisemakers, old cans and bells tied to the tripwires, to alert us if anyone got too close. I made sure Maggie and the Chaos Goats were ready, giving them a pep talk. "Maggie, you and the crew are our secret weapon. When those mercenaries show up, I want you to cause as much chaos as possible. Got it?" Maggie let out a loud baa, her curved horns glinting in the sunlight, like she was ready to rumble. By nightfall, we were as ready as we'd ever be. The air was thick with tension as we waited for Madam V to make her move. Luke got a call from one of his deputies at the roadblock. "Sheriff, we've got a convoy, 3 black SUVs and a van, heading your way on Route 42. They didn't stop when we signaled. They're coming in hot." Luke turned to me. "Jack, this is it. Madam V's here." I nodded, grabbing my pitchfork. "All right, y'all. Let's give her a Midwest welcome she'll never forget." The convoy rolled into Grace's field just after midnight, their headlights cutting through the darkness. I watched from behind a hay bale, my heart pounding, as 3 black SUVs and a van pulled up 100 yards away. The doors opened, and a dozen mercenaries in black tactical gear stepped out, armed with rifles and flashlights. At the center of the group was a woman in a black trench coat, her blonde hair tied back, her face cold and calculating. Madam V, the Viper, in the flesh. She barked orders. "Spread out. Find Callahan and his little alliance. I want them dealt with before sunrise." I radioed the team. "Y'all, she's here. Madam V's leading the charge. Stick to the plan. Let him get close, then we hit him hard." Luke, stationed in the barn with his deputies, replied, "Got it. Jack, we've got eyes on their movements. Wait for my signal." Ellie, hiding in a ditch with Grace, whispered, "Jack, I've got the noisemakers ready. Once they trip the wires, it'll be chaos." I nodded, gripping my pitchfork. "Good. Let's make him regret stepping foot in the Midwest." The mercenaries fanned out, moving cautiously through the field, their flashlights sweeping the ground. I could hear their radios crackling as they reported back to Madam V. No sign of Callahan yet. Field's clear so far. But they didn't know about the tripwires. One of the mercenaries stepped right into Ellie's trap. A loud clanging of cans and bells echoed through the night, startling the whole group. Madam V snapped. "What the hell was that? Find them now." That was our cue. I shouted. "Now, y'all, let's go." Luke and his deputies opened fire from the barn, their shots ringing out, forcing the mercenaries to take cover behind their vehicles. Ellie and Grace popped up from the ditch, throwing Molotov cocktails they'd made from old bottles and gas. Flames erupted near the SUVs, lighting up the field and sending the mercenaries scrambling. I charged forward with a group of farmers, pitchforks and shovels in hand, aiming for the nearest mercenaries. For the Midwest, I yelled, tackling one guy to the ground and knocking his rifle away. But the real chaos came when Maggie and the Chaos Goats got involved. I'd let them loose from the pen just before the fight started, and now they were charging through the field like a furry tornado. Maggie led the pack, her horns lowered, aiming straight for a mercenary who was trying to flank us. She hit him square in the chest, sending him flying into a hay bale with a loud thud. The other goats followed her lead, headbutting and trampling anything in their path. Mercenaries, gear, even one of the SUVs got dented when a goat rammed its door. One of the mercenaries screamed, "What the hell are these things?" I couldn't help but laugh. "That's the Chaos Goats, buddy. Welcome to the Midwest." Madam V, standing by the van, was furious. "Callahan, you think your little pets can stop me? I'll burn this whole place to the ground." She pulled a pistol from her coat, firing at the hay bales where I was hiding. I ducked just in time, the bullet whizzing past my head. I radioed Luke. "Luke, she's by the van. Can you get a shot?" Luke replied, "I've got her in my sights, but she's got cover. I need a distraction." I grinned. "Leave that to Maggie." I whistled for Maggie, who was busy chasing a mercenary through the field. She turned, saw me, and came running. I pointed at Madam V. "Maggie, go get her." Maggie let out a fierce bawl and charged straight for the van. Madam V didn't see her coming. She was too busy shouting orders. Maggie lowered her horns and rammed right into Madam V's legs, knocking her to the ground with a yelp. Her pistol flew out of her hand, landing in the dirt. The mercenaries froze, shocked to see their boss taken down by a goat. Luke took the shot, firing a warning round that hit the van's tire, making it hiss and deflate. "You're done, Viper," Luke shouted. With Madam V on the ground, I saw our chance. I sprinted toward her, pitchfork in hand, while Luke and his deputies moved in from the barn, guns drawn. The mercenaries, seeing their boss down, started to panic. Some tried to fight back, but Ellie and Grace kept them pinned with more Molotov cocktails, and the Chaos Goats were still running wild, headbutting anyone who got too close. Within minutes, we had the upper hand. Half the mercenaries were down, and the rest were retreating to their vehicles. I reached Madam V just as she was scrambling to her feet, her trench coat covered in dirt. She glared at me, her green eyes burning with rage. "Callahan, you're a dead man. I'll make sure of it." I pointed my pitchfork at her. "You're done, Viper. You and Echelon are finished. Surrender now, or you won't walk out of this field." She laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You think this is over? You have no idea what you're up against. Echelon isn't just me. It's bigger than you can imagine." Luke and Tara moved in, cuffing her hands behind her back. Luke said, "Madam V, you're under arrest for conspiracy, attempted murder, and a whole lot of other charges. You're coming with us." But before they could take her away, I stepped closer. "Tell me what you mean. What's bigger than I can imagine? What's Echelon planning?" Madam V smirked. "You want to know? Fine. I'll give you a little parting gift, Callahan. Echelon's next move is called Operation Global Harvest. It's not just the Midwest, not just America. They're going after the world's food supply. Europe, Asia, Africa. They'll control it all, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." I froze, my blood running cold. Operation Global Harvest. Echelon wasn't just a local threat. They were a global one. I grabbed her by the collar. "Who's behind it? Who's running Echelon?" She laughed again. "You'll have to go to London to find out, Callahan. The council there, they're the ones pulling the strings. And they'll crush you like they've crushed everyone else." Luke pulled her away, dragging her to the squad car, but her words stuck with me. A council in London. This was way bigger than I'd thought. As the deputies rounded up the remaining mercenaries, I turned to Ethan. "Ethan, did you know about this Operation Global Harvest?" Ethan shook his head, his face pale. "No, Jack. I swear. I knew Echelon had big plans, but nothing like this. If they're going global, we're talking about a food crisis, famine, control, power. We can't let them get away with it." I nodded. "We won't. But we've got to figure out our next move, and fast." The field was a mess. Burnt hay bales, dented vehicles, and a few injured mercenaries being loaded into ambulances. But we'd won. The Midwest Alliance had stood strong, and Madam V was in custody. Grace walked over, her shotgun still in hand. "Jack, we did it. Maggie and the goats were the real MVPs tonight. I laughed. You're damn right, Grace. Maggie deserves a medal for that headbutt. Maggie let out a proud bah, like she knew exactly what we were talking about. But even with the victory, I couldn't shake Madame V's words. Operation Global Harvest, a plan to control the world's food supply. And that call from the insider, telling me to meet him in London. I knew this fight was far from over. The sun was just coming up as we finished cleaning up Grace's field. The mercenaries were either in cuffs or on their way to the hospital, and Madame V was locked up in the back of Luke's squad car, still smirking like she knew something we didn't. The Midwest Alliance gathered in the barn, exhausted but proud. We'd taken down Echelon's top dog in the U.S., and we'd saved our harvest from their sabotage. But I couldn't celebrate, not with the bombshell Madame V had dropped about Operation Global Harvest. I called the team together for a quick debrief. Y'all, we did what we set out to do. We stopped Madame V and her goons. The Midwest is safe, for now. But she said something that's got me worried. Echelon's got a plan called Operation Global Harvest. They're not just after our land. They're after the whole world's food supply. Sarah's eyes widened. Jack, that's terrifying. If they control the food, they control everything. Prices, governments, people. Ellie nodded. And if they're going global, we can't fight that alone. We need help. Ethan stepped forward. Jack, Madame V mentioned a council in London. That's got to be Echelon's headquarters. If we're going to stop Operation Global Harvest, that's where we need to go. I nodded. I know. And that insider who called me last time, he said I'd need him in London to take down Echelon. I don't know who he is, but he might be our only shot. Luke frowned. Jack, you're talking about going halfway across the world to fight a shadowy council we know nothing about. That's a hell of a risk. I sighed. I know, Luke. But if we don't stop Echelon now, they'll come back, stronger, meaner, and with a plan we can't fight. Grace chimed in. Jack, you go to London if you have to, but the Midwest Alliance will hold down the fort here. Me, Maggie, and the goats will make sure no one messes with our land while you're gone. I smiled. Thanks, Grace. I know I can count on y'all. Don added. I'll reach out to more farmers across the state, maybe even the country. If Echelon's going global, we need a bigger alliance to fight back, Sarah said. And I'll start looking into food supply chains, see if we can find any signs of Echelon's next move. I was about to reply when my phone buzzed, an email from an unknown sender. I opened it, and my heart skipped a beat. It read, Callahan, you've taken down the Viper, impressive. But the real fight is just beginning. Operation Global Harvest is already in motion. Meet me in London, Covent Garden, next Friday, 3 p.m. I'll be the one in the gray coat. Don't be late. The Insider. I looked up at the team, my voice low. It's him, the Insider. He wants to meet in London, next Friday. Looks like I'm taking a trip. Luke put a hand on my shoulder. Jack, if you're doing this, I'm coming with you. You're not facing this council alone. I nodded. Thanks, Luke. I'll need you. Ellie grinned. And when you get back, we'll throw a big OL Midwest party, Chaos Goats included. The group laughed, but I could feel the weight of what was coming. London, a council, Operation Global Harvest. This was a whole new level of danger. I walked outside, looking at the sunrise over the fields. Maggie trotted over, nudging my leg with her horns. I scratched her head. Maggie, you were a hero out there. But I've got a feeling our biggest fight's still ahead. You ready for a trip to London? Maggie let out a bah, like she was up for anything. I smiled, but deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. With Madame V in custody and the Midwest safe for now, I knew I couldn't sit still, not with Operation Global Harvest looming and the Insider waiting in London. The next few days were a whirlwind as I got ready for the trip. Luke and I booked flights to London, leaving in 3 days. Our first time ever leaving the U.S., let alone the Midwest. I was nervous, but I knew we had to do this. If Echelon was planning to control the world's food supply, we had to stop them at the source. I spent the morning at my farm, packing a small bag, just some clothes, my phone, and a photo of me and Lily to remind me what I was fighting for. Lily ran up, hugging me tight. Uncle Jack, you're going to London? That's so far. Promise you'll come back soon. I knelt down, smiling. I promise, kiddo. I'll be back before you know it, and I'll bring you something cool from London, okay? She nodded, her eyes bright. Okay. Be careful, Uncle Jack. I love you. I hugged her back. I love you too, Lily. You and your mom take care of the farm while I'm gone. I called Cody to fill him in. Cody, I'm heading to London to meet this insider guy. He says he can help us stop Echelon's Operation Global Harvest. While I'm gone, I need you to keep digging. Find anything you can on this European Council Madam V mentioned. Cody, sipping his Red Bull, replied, Got it, Jack. I'll hack into whatever I can find, financial records, emails, anything that might lead us to this council. But you watch your back over there. London's a long way from the Midwest. I nodded. I will, Cody. Thanks. Back at Grace's farm, the Midwest Alliance threw a little send-off for me and Luke. Grace had set up a table with homemade pies and lemonade, and the whole team was there. Ellie, Sarah, Don, Ethan, and even Hank Miller, who'd been skeptical of Ethan but was now fully on board. Grace raised a glass of lemonade. To Jack and Luke, y'all are heading into the lion's den, but we know you'll make the Midwest proud. Bring down that council and come back safe. The group cheered, and I felt a surge of pride. This community was my strength, my family. Ethan pulled me aside. Jack, I wish I could go with you. I know Echelon better than anyone. But I've got to stay here, keep my family safe. Just be careful. The council won't play nice. They're the ones who turned Madam V into the Viper. I nodded. I know, Ethan. You've done enough. Stay safe, and we'll handle the rest. Ellie handed me a small bag. Here, Jack, I packed you some snacks for the flight. And a little something extra. I opened it. Inside was a tiny Chaos Goat figurine, carved from wood. Ellie grinned. To remind you of Maggie and the team. You've got the Midwest with you, even in London. I laughed. Thanks, Ellie. This means a lot. The day of the flight, Luke and I drove to the airport in Dayton, our bags in the back of his squad car. I looked out the window at the fields rolling by, thinking about everything we'd been through. Karen, Veronica, Maxwell, Harrow, Madam V. Each fight had made us stronger, but this was different. We were heading into the unknown, facing a council we knew nothing about, with only a mysterious insider to guide us. Luke glanced over. You ready for this, Jack? London's a far cry from the Midwest. I nodded. I'm ready, Luke. We've got the Midwest spirit with us. No council's gonna stop us. At the airport, I took one last look at the Ohio skyline before we boarded. I muttered to myself, Maggie, you hold down the fort. I'll be back soon. I could almost hear her bah in my head, like she was cheering me on. As the plane took off, I looked at the photo of me and Lily, my resolve hardening. Echelon might be global, but the Midwest was unbreakable, and I'd make sure they knew it. And that's a wrap for episode 6 of HOA Karen Files. We took down Madam V in an epic Midwest showdown, with Maggie and the Chaos Goats stealing the show. But the fight's far from over. Echelon's got a global plan called Operation Global Harvest, and it's up to me and Luke to stop them in London, with help from a mysterious insider. Will we find this European Council? And can we stop Echelon before they control the world's food supply? Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think about our London trip, and do you think Maggie should have come along? Smash that like button if you love the Chaos Goats in action, and hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching. See y'all in London for the next drama.